Ray. What do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
All right, yo, let's get into it.
Try to take over the world.
Preaching freedom
Try
of
to take over the world.
And greatest chaplain in the world, Mr.
Try
Lance
to
O'Neill.
take over the world.
Yo. What up, world? It's your boys, the POGs. It's Sunday, 8:30 live. Do you know where your POGs are? We're back. Another episode of Two POGs. It's your boy, KJ Bradley, and the world's greatest chaplain, Mr. Lance O'Neill. What up, Chappie?
I am really ticked off because Skynet has not made itself known, and it's obviously hiding for the last 3 days without starting the end of the world. I want to know. They say Skynet became aware on, I think it was August 28th. Maybe it didn't immediately launch. Maybe we were lied to in Terminator, and they didn't immediately launch that day.
I don't know. I think Kamala is the bot. I think Kamala is Skynet, and she's playing us all, man.
Do you have the video you posted of the android? Maybe that was actually.
Oh, I got it on my Facebook, man. But man, listen, we got a lot to get into tonight. Oh my God, man, it's been a busy week. Let's catch up first. Let's catch up. How was your week?
Good. No, all good. You know, until today, the Dodgers were playing really well.
Yeah. The door's blown off you today, man. I was not expecting that.
But they've already at least tied the series with Arizona, so that's fine.
That's it.
The Yankees lost. That's good. The Padres won. Hopefully, the Braves win tonight against the Phillies.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I felt really good about both my fantasy drafts, a normal league and then a dynasty league. First dynasty league, 25 rounds.
Oh my God.
We got it done in an hour.
25. My
yeah. So I'm going through looking at all these guys going, okay, if it's between this guy and this guy, this guy's 25, this guy's 28, I'm taking the 25-year-old. Like, I don't know the difference. Once you get far down enough, you're just like,
yeah,
who's the next? Oh, and this league has one defensive player that you play.
Oh my God.
And no team defense, just individual players. So you get stuff like intersection stuff. Yeah, I got Fred Warner from BYU, the Niners, BYU guy.
Yeah.
You know,
self-admittedly, I am not that into the fan. I have two fantasy leagues that I play, mostly with guys that I went in the military with, but I am not. I only play just because, you know, we played one when I was serving. But other than that, man, I'm not really a big fantasy guy. Like, I'll play just for the hell of it. But
well, what's funny is one of the leagues I'm in is all the guys you know, and we can talk about the names. Oh yeah,
offline, yeah.
Like First Sergeant Burton and AJ Jackson and Glasnow and Mike McBride and all these guys. We used to have Lucas Dubois in there. Yeah, so like all the guys. So when you said that just now with a bunch of military guys, I'm like, oh, how did you not? Next time we're doing something, I'll drop something in the chat room.
Yeah,
KJ's pissed off that he didn't get an invite. Thanks a lot, Corey.
No, man. I can't. I don't have the energy, man. I'm more of a. I don't want to put that kind of energy. I like to watch football for the fandom of it, and then like what I learned early into the fantasy thing is you have to be way too invested, and I try to just enjoy the game, man. I don't want to be mad at my guys for not performing.
So ironically, it makes me want to watch more.
Really?
Because as a Cowboys fan. Like, if the Cowboys have already played, let's say on Thursday night, then it's like, oh yeah, okay, there's some Sunday games or Monday. There might be a player like Fred Warner. Okay, see how he's doing. But with fantasy, now I'm watching and going, oh, I have whoever as I think I got Trevor Lawrence in my futures one, right? In my dynasty. I don't care about Trevor Lawrence. I don't care about the Jags. But if I'm playing him in fantasy that week on my team, it's like, oh, I need to go see. Hey, Red Zone, why aren't you showing what the Jaguars are doing? Come on, Red Zone, get on it. Which, by the way, Red Zone, free plug, nobody's watching, but Red Zone is the best thing on TV. It is absolutely the best thing on TV because it changes the channels for you. So you can watch, like if you have your own local, you get your local TV or whatever. and that's it. Like for you and me, actually, you might be blacked out from the Panthers, right?
No, I'm blacked out from the Panthers, but I get the other local games, which is great.
Yeah.
Normally I'll watch a Falcons game or something.
So, but what's frustrating, like if you were here in Augusta as a Falcons fan, like you are, you might be going, why can't I watch the Falcons?
Yeah.
And if I don't have like, if Augusta, I just set up a antenna up in the attic, and I get CBS pretty good, and I don't think Fox comes in at all.
Oh wow.
Even though the antennas are literally like the broadcasting antennas are like within, they are literally within like a few hundred yards of each other, and I can get one and not the other. I don't know why, but to me, the blackout rules are just so insane. Baseball's even worse.
Yeah.
Like, like if I'm here in Augusta and I'm blacked out for Braves games, which I am, and you are too, right?
I am. It's crazy.
So you're blacked out from a Brave games, and you are 3.5, almost 4 hours away from Atlanta. Are they really thinking, oh, well, if he's able to see this game, then he's not going to come here, or he's supposed to watch it on local? But the problem with local is a lot of time the cable companies screw stuff up, and they've paid for the rights, fine, but I don't have cable.
Yeah.
So the NFL, they black out over the air stuff, which is even more insane.
Yep.
So wait a minute. So I can't watch, that's why I loved when I was in Dallas, or when I was in San Antonio and El Paso and Houston, all of them, I got every Dallas Cowboys game there was. Anytime there was a game on, that's what I was able to watch because I had cable. And so if it was on Fox, that was the primary and whatever. But yeah, it's weird how it's opposite, right? NFL, it has to be a sellout. Maybe that's the difference.
As long as it's a sellout, they'll let it play. But
that's why the Cowboys games were always on, was because but if you're a fan of the Falcons, and no offense to Atlanta fans, but Atlanta fans,
we sold out Mercedes-Benz this year. We're good. We are
for which team?
For the Falcons, this season.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say for Georgia Clemson.
No, whoa, that was a hell of a game, man. I was thoroughly impressed. I was nervous, but
it was for Georgia fans.
Yeah, I was nervous, but I mean they did what they came to do, man. All right, are you ready? It's been a hell of a week. Let's get into it. We will start off with let's see what we got. What do we got first? Trouble in Arlington. POTUS took a little trip. Well, ex-POTUS, what was it? 45 took a little trip to Arlington. Ran into some trouble. All right. I guess the Hatch Act says that there is no videography in Area 60. But 45 and his team decided they wanted to shoot a little bit of a campaign promo. And had a little bit of a hitch up. We got some video of a Gold Star family who wanted to kind of give their part, kind of talk about what they did, and then we'll play it and kind of get your thoughts on that. So let's see if we can get that pulled up and talk about it and see what happens there. Hold on, let me see if I can get it pulled up because, Lord knows, it's been a while. Where's this thing at? Get big. Nope.
And this is why we need to hire a producer.
I'm telling you, man, because I am bad at this gig, bad at this. In a full screen. There we go.
As long as you don't hand it off to me.
Oh man, I'm telling you, it's all these buttons, man. There's so many buttons around this thing. I can't figure this thing out.
Before you start it, the joke about the buttons, we are all now George Jefferson. You remember what Jetson? Remember what George Jetson's job was? He sat there and he pressed a button all day. That's all we do. We said we press buttons. We are all now George Jetson. The future is now without the cars and the little.
There we go. Boom. Here we go. All right, I got you. Let's rock.
Vice President Harris, my name is Christy Shamblin. My daughter-in-law, Sergeant Nicole Leanne G.
Okay. You want to go first?
Well, it's a good thing that I watched that video and sent it to you because I was muted and couldn't hear a word she said.
Oh, wow.
But I sent it, so I know what she said. Yeah. As you know, you've been in this discussion with another person who is retired. You guys have more of a problem with what happened with 45 than I do, or at least that was my impression. And I don't know if it's that the problem is that, okay, it's all political. It's all about who can capitalize on the mistakes. Is this a mistake? And if it is a mistake, how does the Harris campaign capitalize on the mistake? And that's where we're at in all of this. So to me, if this, and this is a long running issue I have with the media and the Democrats, but I repeat myself, it goes back the same thing. If Trump had not been running for president in this election, he would not have been indicted. He would not have been charged. Nothing would have happened in New York. If he just said, you know what, I'm going to go golf and just chill and be on the beach and, do what President Biden's been doing for the last 2 weeks, then none of this would have happened. Same thing as right now. If this was 45 had been invited by these families, and 45 is a past president, and he's got people there, Secret Service there. He's got a videographer, photographer as part of, I don't know, let's say they're doing Trump the after years documentary. Nothing would have come of it. Nothing at all. I think this would be an absolute nothing. But because we're close to the election, and because it's a potential error, it has been made into a massive error. And I think in this case, because of this Gold Star, we'll call her Gold Star mom. I think Gold Star mother-in-law is a bit of a mouthful. Yeah. But this Gold Star family, and there were she's not the only one. She just seems to be the rep for the Gold Star families that invited 45. I think this is where it could come around and kind of rebound negatively against the Harris campaign, simply because on one side you have military and non-military saying, hey, he shouldn't have been there. He's not above the rules. This is him just, disrespecting the area and the sacredness of Arlington. But then you have the other side, and a lot of people I've talked to, and the other side saying, look, he was invited by the families. He cares. Taking the videos, that's just part of it. That's not really, I don't really care about that. The fact that he showed up, and that's where I think the rebound really comes in. The most powerful part of what this Gold Star mother is saying is Harris and Biden, neither of them were reaching out. It's the third anniversary. Nobody's responding to them. It goes back to the Biden. Now, say what you want, whether it was a real error or not, when Biden looked at his watch as they were unloading the caskets in one of the ceremonies. But I think it's fair to say there is a view that President Biden, and until she became the candidate, that Vice President Harris were not the most pro-military. Now, I think that Biden will say, I am absolutely military because I lost my son, and because of Beau and his military service, that I am absolutely a friend to the military. But we've seen even Biden, as I misspoke, Biden, does he misspeak or does he embellish when he says things like, and there's video of it, I lost my son in combat, so I know what this is like. No, Bo died of a brain tumor. He didn't die in combat. Now, was he trying to say, I've had a son that was in, if you want to be generous, he was trying to say, I have a son that was in combat, so I know what it's like to be worried that my son is going to die. I'm not going to sit here and bash Biden on that one. But I have never, as far as I can remember, I don't ever recall Harris saying anything either way about the military, positive or negative. So to have the campaign, which I completely expect, to have the campaign try to jump on this story, which again to me is a lot of a nothing burger. I think that's part of it is it's been blown out. I'm personally not offended by it. If every person, if the Hatch Act actually meant anything at this point, probably half the members of Congress should have been charged under the Hatch Act. The Hatch Act also says that government officials cannot negotiate or act with foreign, with any official duties or whatever with foreign nations, right? So you're telling me when any, House Representative Schmo from the great state of Wyoming flies over to Paris and has a sit down with the economic manager of France, whatever their economic guy is for the government. And they're talking about, hey, how can we do business between Wyoming and between Paris? Is there any way we can have a cultural exchange? Is that not dealing in official capacity as if with a foreign official? Of course it is. But it never gets charged. The only times I know of it being charged recently is I think General Flynn got hit with it because, again, it was a political hit job because Flynn was being looked at as a MAGA and as somebody who was very loyal to Trump. And honestly, I could have seen, if he hadn't been dragged through the mud quite as much, I could have seen him be the VP pick also. Flynn, yeah. Well, but again, he was damaged. He was damaged. His name's too damaged over the last 4 or 5 years, or probably more than that. But again, I think that the political stuff here is, and again, I'm not even saying it's wrong. It's expected. If you are running for president, and I don't know if it was you, KJ, or if it was AJ that said this, is whichever campaign, the winner is going to be whoever makes the fewest errors in the next 65, 70 days. This is not, I don't think this is a big error. And here's the other advantage. And I said this a few weeks ago, that because of the short-term memory, look, the assassination attempt on President Trump has been rabbit holed. That was like 7 weeks ago. The man came 2 inches away from dropping dead on national TV by being hit. And if think about where it was hit, if he's 2 inches further, that's the medulla oblongata. That's lights out. That is, you are dead before you hit the ground. And that is where the bullet would have been tracking if he hadn't turned his ear. So, but does anybody, we had something come out did you see what came out this week about the assassination attempt?
Hold up. Don't go there yet. We got it.
So it's just, it's all getting rabbit holed. And I think that this is all political and it's a much ado about nothing, but I'm going to be really interested to see how it rolls downhill from here over the next 8 weeks.
Yeah. So a couple of things on that, right? It was complete political theater, right? The whole thing. Trump, even when Trump was president,
sure,
he rarely visited Arlington, right? It was always Pence going on behalf of the administration. I remember several dedications laying the wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. It was always Pence on behalf of the president. So I have no issue with him, going for political clout. The family requested him. He's in the middle of a campaign. He wanted some good press. That's fine, right? My issue is, one, if a staffer comes out and says, hey, we'd really appreciate it if you not film here, you know, for respect of the dead, right? You can film anywhere else, just not in this specific area because this is where the recently interned are. We'd really appreciate you not filming here. And instead of them saying, hey, we understand, we'll do it. You take that and then you say, oh, this veteran is clearly having a mental health episode, right? And we know the stigma behind PTSD and veterans and all that other stuff, right? So when you use inflammatory rhetoric like that, you just further, you push the rhetoric to the left, which is uncalled for, right? All that other BS aside, it's craziness. Now, with this whole thing with the whole lady calling out the VP and all this whole shit, right? I do recall there being a minor skirmish going on over my formative years called GWAT. You may have heard of it, right? A lot of us kind of participated in it, right? Unfortunately, we lost a lot of good friends, a lot of close people. So I can understand her pain, right? I too wanted the president and the vice president to give us a call, write a letter, show some condolences. You know what? We didn't freaking get it, but we understood it wasn't about us. Bigger than us, right? It's bigger than us. So when they give their condolences as a whole, we understand that our friends, our comrades who had fallen were a part of that whole, right? They didn't have to call those names out individually, right? Because it wasn't about that. There's something in the value that says selfless service for a reason, right? They don't need to be singled out. And sometimes our family members don't understand that. So no, the VP does not have an obligation to single your loved one out, to call her out by name. And yes, you can say it's a victory because we pulled out Afghanistan. That was the goal. The mission was the goal. Tragic that we lost a life, but that is a consequence of doing business, right? Do I look back at my friend's death in Iraq and say, oh, well, because I lost people who were close to me, we lost, they died. And how dare President Bush or President Obama declare, that we did a great thing. I lost friends. I lost loved ones over there. How dare they declare it a victory? No, it's still a victory. We still did what we had to do. The mission was accomplished. That's just the cost of doing business with war. So understanding and hearing the pain in her heart, I think it's misguided, misplaced, and the VP does not have an obligation to call her or to show up. It would be great if she could, but she got bigger shit on her plate, frankly, than to come show up. You know what I mean? President Trump show up when he was president. He showed up out of office. And I would bet everything. I would bet my entire net worth and my entire 6 generations worth of net worth on it to say that if President Trump had not been running for president, he probably wouldn't have shown up to Arlington at that invite.
Oh, I don't know about that one. I wouldn't take that. I wouldn't make that bet.
President Trump served 4 years, right? And he served 4 years, right? And it's been 3 years since he's been out of office, going on 4. So that's 7 years. 7 years. How many families did he go visit in Arlington?
How many invited him?
How many
invited him?
She said she's been calling.
She's been calling. Who?
She said she's been calling. She said she's been calling Trump. She's been calling Trump. She's been calling Biden. This is the first time Trump showed up.
Okay. Well, that doesn't surprise, but I still don't know. I mean, yes, it's probably political, and I agree with you. It's a political thing.
And I'm saying, had the stars not aligned,
here's why I would not bet money on it. And this is the cynic in me. Trump's not running for president. Trump gets called from this woman and says, "Hey, we're doing the 3rd year anniversary for our daughter-in-law at Arlington. We would really love to be there." I could see non-presidential candidate Trump going, "Wow, nobody's asked me to do anything for a while. I should go do this because they remember me. That will make me seem important." I could see that's the narcissistic. That's what I'm saying. I could see. I'm just saying, look, that's not a good That is not a good reflection on Trump for if that was the reason he went.
7 weeks ago, a guy lost his life at a campaign rally where Trump almost died.
Mm-hmm.
The dude didn't even call the man's wife to offer fucking condolences.
Are you sure?
I'm positive. It was a big news. It was in the news cycle. He never called. He hugged his jacket at the RNC and then hugged the flag.
Okay. I'll take your word for it.
So to say that
I thought he had, but yeah, if he didn't.
Yeah, he did not. That was a big thing. He did not. Biden called and she hung up because she said her husband would not have wanted her to talk to him.
Who's the guy? Okay, so firefighter.
Yeah. Biden called and offered condolences. Biden Harris called and offered condolences. And she hung up because she said her husband would not want them talking to her.
Let's see. Oh, I like it. I like what he did though. The firefighter.
Yeah.
The firefighter that died at the Trump rally had the gun salute, bugle sounding, and he had bagpipes, which I've told my wife the only thing I want is bagpipes. You can bury me in the cheapest pine box you can possibly find. Okay, I'm gonna look it up later, but
you're good. But what I'm saying is, it ain't in him unless there's PR to benefit him. The dude don't have it in him, and that's just how he rolls. It ain't, it's just how.
You know what? And again, the cynic in me, you just described all of them.
It is. It's two shades of a different coin.
Yeah.
Him and Kamala are 2 shades of the different coin. They're the same exact person, just opposite damn ends of the spectrum.
Yeah. And when I talk to people, this is the thing that I've said to you, I've said online. If you think that I believe that Donald Trump is a good person, you're wrong. I think Donald Trump is as big, and I online I do an $, hole. What was it? Meet the Fockers. Asshole. This is the sign language, if I remember. It's either this or this, but I think it's this. Yeah. So I don't like Trump the man. I don't like Harris the woman. I can go through and count on 0 hands how many federal politicians I like on a personal level. I can't think of anybody. If you said the old game of you can invite 3 people to dinner, who would you invite, living or dead? And you said, no, 3 people, you're going to invite 3 people to dinner, but they have to be politicians. I'm going, I'm not sure that I want that dinner regardless. I mean, because even it's hot. Okay. Turn the AC down. My okay. Go over there to the AC and press the button from 73 to 72. Now you all know how to set my AC. But if you said you get, okay, To earn $10 million, you have to sit down with 3 politicians in Washington, D.C. Who are you sitting down with? Okay, I could probably come up with 3. I'm probably not thinking I'm going to have a great time. And honestly, I'm probably going to pick 3 people that I'm going to be fighting with most of the time. I'll sit down with Romney. I mean, he's not in. Oh yeah, he's a senator. Yeah, I'll sit down with Mitt Romney and be like, dude, what happened to you? You know, like really, Manchin might be interesting to talk to, for other reasons. Honestly, I would love to sit. Not because I like him. I would love to sit down with Bernie Sanders and just when we need to tag. It's like, dude, what jobs have you had other than government? What jobs have you had? I heard you got kicked out of a commune. Why? Because you weren't working. How true? Tell me about that story.
What?
Oh, you don't know that story? Oh, way back before he became a congressman or senator, whatever, before he got into the government, he joined one of those hippy dippy communes in the late 60s, right? There was a point where they asked him, please leave, because even in communes, everybody pitched in. He would sit around and just talk, and he wouldn't do anything. That's the story as the story goes, right? So if you're getting kicked out of a commune back in the 60s because you're not pulling your weight, you might qualify as a lazy individual. Okay.
Congress
So
is the easiest job in America, man.
yeah. So if I realistically were to, and maybe this is the game we need to do, but what 3? I mean, if I'm thinking about probably Bernie Sanders, Clarence Thomas on the other side, I think that would be just hilarious. And then a third person, I'm not sure who my third would be. Is there a famous person that I want to meet? Like if Steve Garvey becomes the governor or the senator from California, maybe because I want to hear Dodger stories and ask him to talk about Vin Scully the whole time. But other than that, I mean, I'm sure there's a football coach or former player or something that might be interesting to sit down and talk to for sports. But there probably aren't. I don't think there's 3 people I could say that I like.
You wouldn't sit down with Sowell?
Who?
Sowell.
Oh, I would love to ask him about his honeypot, the Chinese spy. That would be so much fun to talk about.
The best of us, man.
Yeah, who hasn't slept with a Chinese spy?
They're everywhere. You get caught up.
Yep. So, yeah, it's political. It's all, and again, Trump, not a good person, but I believe Trump will surround himself with people that push policies that are more in line with my belief in this country and where we should go and my vision of the country, especially on the justice level, which again, 3 for 3. People think I'm a MAGA, which I just laugh at. I left the GOP in 2015 when he was nominated. I have not gone back to the GOP. And it is frustrating. Is this the best America can do? You've got on one side a former president who is so narcissistic that instead of just supporting the party and setting up his successor or who the next person in line is, decides, screw it, I'm going to jump in, and then I'm not going to even go to any of the debates, because why would I? Because he's got a cult of personality. And so, I mean, I don't blame him. He won the nomination, so he made the right move, right?
Yeah.
Like Harris, I mean, with Biden dropping out and Harris saying, yes, I'll be the nominee, great. What was Harris supposed to do? Say, oh, no, we should have some form of a electoral discussion. No, they were like, here you go. And she went, thank you, and ran. What politician wouldn't? What every single politician, especially a politician that, in my opinion, I know you don't agree with this, but in my politician has failed up the stairs the whole way along. So the best America can do, absolutely freaking not. I listened to Joe Rogan interview Eric Weinstein. I don't think it's Weinstein. I think it's Weinstein, like Harvey Weinstein, because that's right. Why I remember the name. and about complete opposite of Harvey Weinstein, Eric Weinstein. He's a physicist, macro physicist, something, right? Super. You listen to him on Rogan. Rogan brought Weinstein on along with Terrence Howard, and it's a 4-hour cast. I watched. Oh yeah, I watched the whole thing because you were really impressed with Terrence Howard, and and basically what Weinstein said was, look, what you say, the way you say it, it's going to fool about 99.9% of the people out there because they just don't know about this stuff. But the 0.1% that know this stuff, like me, you sound like an idiot. You sound like you're now. Hold on. Yeah. You sound like you're blowing smoke, but this is what I liked about what Weinstein did. Weinstein said, but here's how you can make it better. Here's how because like you had Neil deGrasse Tyson say, oh, I peer reviewed. And Weinstein said, dude, peer review is a load of crap. They will keep you down. Yeah. They are not going to support you. Yeah. So to me, even with some of the things that Weinstein said, pretty clearly left-leaning, I would vote for that left-leaning physicist 4 times a day for the next 6 weeks. I would vote like I was a Democrat. That's how many times I would vote for Weinstein. And I don't even know his policies because I trust that somebody who's actually smarter than me is going to, I know that hurts. I almost couldn't say it because everybody thinks I'm, such a big head. Look, I'm smart. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. Well, maybe right now I am, but
you got it.
But I'm not the smartest guy on the screen. If you were just to say, and again, what's the fix? It'll never happen. But if 2 POGs had our way, if this POG had his way,
yeah,
I would. If we could get away, 2 things. The first one would have to be we get away from the way we do the rallies and the initial voting and all that stuff. If you have to have that, if you have to have the campaigning, my first thing would say nobody can spend more than $1 million at all, including PACs, all of it. $1 million. That's it. For House, for Senate, for President, $1 million. You cannot go over that. Okay. That'll never happen. Neither will this one. The second one is you do a nationwide test of 35 plus year olds, 35 to, you like the idea of an age limit. So I'm fine with an age. Let's go 35 to 65.
Yep.
Anybody who wants to log on and take this test can take this test. And it's general knowledge, it's general IQ, it's emotional IQ, it's 500 questions. It'll take you 4 hours if you have up to 4 hours to answer these 500 questions. And it can be, simple, all the way simple from how many members of the Senate are there to, explain, how does gravity work?
Yeah.
Which is funny because you would have 4 answers.
I got an easier question.
Yeah.
Identify what is a man, what is a woman. Please identify the genders.
But if you do that, you just eliminate anybody they're going to say, right, but they will say you've just eliminated, you are denying that you're a transphobe and you are denying that trans people even exist. And no, I get it. But what I'm saying is you stay away, you try to stay away on this test from ideological questions. What you're doing is you're trying to do this test. Again, empathy, sympathy, intelligence, emotional stability. Yep. There got to be, those psychological questions that are thrown in. If you've ever taken a psychology questionnaire, it's really weird. Like, do you prefer roses to tulips?
Yeah.
I mean, there's questions that you're just like, what? Do you prefer Lincoln or Washington?
Yeah.
What is that supposed to? I don't know. But I think you could develop a test that does it. Every single person that passes this test is then given a follow-up questionnaire of 1 question. Would you like to be considered for president or vice president of the United States? Yes or no?
Yep.
Because there's going to be some people like, no, I'm a doctor. I like what I'm doing. I don't want to do this. You might, oh, that'd be too stressful. And then however many people in the United States, and it doesn't matter if you're 35, if you're 65, if you pass this, what you're looking for is you're still looking for the cream of the crop, right? Yep. You're still looking for the 0.01% of people that pass this test. Not just intelligence again, but emotional intelligence, stability, all those things, right? So the 0.1%. So if you have 33 million people and you eliminate half of them because of age restrictions, now you're down to 165 million, okay? And now you take 0.1% of that. So now you're at 165 million, goes down to 16.5 million, goes down to 165,000. That is 0.1. So you have odds of 1 in 165,000. And let's say half of those people said they don't want the job regardless. Okay, yep. So now you're around 80,000 people and you do a random drawing.
Yep.
The next president of the United States is Joanna P. Metzerschmitz from Poduncan, Minnesota. Yay!
We'll have them campaign. I'll get like the top 5 and just put them on a debate stage.
Okay.
And then let it rock. And then that's when you get your candidates.
I am open to that as well. You want to say, give us the top 10 people and then do it what's the show? American Idol style?
Yep. Oh, well, you call it.
But you don't call in. You have to be registered to vote.
Yep.
You go in with your smartphone or your computer and it's coded.
Yep.
So you can only vote once per week.
Yep.
Per your identifying number, right? Your unique voter ID number. And people say, well, I don't want to get tracked by the government. If you don't think you're being tracked by the government right now, look, dude, you've got a spy system. All I have to do is, hey, spy, start music. It'll start going. If you don't think you're being tracked or passively listened to, you're insane. But let's say that's the case. And you're 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Here's your vote. Or if you want to go top 4, maybe. But I think if you're doing it electronically like that, maybe you get down to the top 3.
Yeah.
And you say, okay, here's the final voting. Number 1 is the president. Number 2 is the vice president, and number 3 becomes the head of the House of Representatives, the Speaker of the House.
Yep.
Everybody else, keep everybody else the same. Cool. Speaker of the House.
Yep.
I'd be down with that. Absolutely. Because I think at that point you would have somebody, and you could say, well, they just wouldn't know what they're doing. They wouldn't have the expertise. Look, the smartest thing that any leader can do is surround themselves with people that are smart in the ways that they aren't, or to fill in the holes that they don't have. So if you're Trump and you are saying, I know more than General Mattis, then Trump's an idiot. Got it. That said, I think Trump had a different opinion of how the military is supposed to go, how we were supposed to get out of Afghanistan, how we were supposed to get out of Iraq. And my guess is General Mattis had a very different idea because General Mattis
told him very politely what he can do with his idea, and
but remember Mattis. But Mattis is also a 4-star general. He is a fighter. He wants to go in. And if you'd said to Mattis, at the same time, if you say, hey, Mattis, let's say Biden had hired Mattis as his Secretary of Defense, right? Do you think for even half a second, Mattis, after the plan that was laid out, of how they were going to leave Afghanistan, Mattis, would have taken more than half of a second to say, shove that in the same place I told Trump to shove it?
Oh, no.
He would have absolutely been against that plan.
Absolutely.
So,
I mean, yeah.
Right. So you would have had, you're going to have issues, but when we're at a point where the two, at least in my opinion, Trump is more legitimate as a candidate than Harris is, simply because he went through and he became the Republican nominee through the process. Now, again, you can have problems with the process. I'm not a big fan of the process between caucusing and how they do all it, and the debate. I think he should have shut up. But
he won. They voted. It was fair.
Yes.
Beat out the other candidate, and that's my only problem. He won fair and square, and the Democrats, for whatever reason, decided that Kamala Harris is going to be the pick.
Tammany Hall didn't even do that.
Yeah, you have no say so. This is who we're going to tell you is going to be your nominee. You're going to shut the hell up about it, and you're going to go forward with it. And that bothers me more than I care to admit. It just does. And it should bother every American. It should, and it should bother every American about the way the process happened.
Black Lives Matter, the organization, came out and said this is not against Kamala Harris, but this was undemocratic. As a conservative, and I tweeted this out saying, when I'm agreeing with BLM, either hell's freezing over or it's pretty clear that this is an issue. So, yeah, I just
BLM is just trying to get some clout anyway, because
but it doesn't matter. I don't think that matter. I don't think that part of
it doesn't. But the whole thing has been foul from the get-go. When you didn't put Biden through the process, you just gave him the nomination. You didn't they had candidates who wanted to challenge. That's the whole reason RFK with his crazy ass decided to jump ship. They didn't put Biden through the process. If Biden was the best man for the job, he should have went through the process. As crazy as Trump is, he went through the process.
Let me ask you a question, KJ. Did Biden go through the process fairly in 2020?
No.
Even that?
No. Biden, both times, Biden was handed the job. And I saw it in 2020, and I said, okay, all right, one term, they're going to get it right. And that's the problem. I guess that's why. Damn, we got 5 comments, and I didn't pay any attention. My God.
I didn't even see them. I don't have my comments running. Yeah.
Liberty Twitcher is back, and I did not even see. What up, Liberty? Welcome back, man. Sorry about that, brother. Let's see. Modern science tells us that.
remember why he's saying that.
Yeah. So we'll catch up on these comments, and then I'll kind of catch up. Let's see. Democrats will attack you if you're against their platform. Yep, that's right. Yep.
Oh, hold on for that one. Keep on that one for a second. Because what we're talking about is if for the most part you look at the Democrats, historically, it very much has been, we're picking this person, it's their turn, they're going next. With the one exception, well, no, there's 2 exceptions, because Clinton was not that either. Clinton was not the front runner, neither was Obama. But generally, they have very much gone the next in place. But you go back with Republicans, Nixon, you go all the way back, Nixon was not the next in line. Ford doesn't count, really. Reagan won fair and square.
I got a question for you that popped up.
Yeah.
From my boy Thad. He said, when was the last time a sitting president went through the process?
And that's what we're talking about. So last time, Well, the last time was 2016. Trump went through the process, because if you think the GOP was lining up for Trump in 2015, oh no, Trump was a joke.
No. Did he go through another?
Oh yeah.
What is it called? Did he go through another primary?
Oh yeah.
Or was he the presumptive nominee?
No. Remember in 2015, so Romney had lost in 2012, and then you had a stage full of Republicans, and on the Democrat side it was, yeah, we're going to do debates too, but it's Hillary.
No. 2016 is when Trump won, right?
Right. So what I'm saying is that's when because Hillary didn't even go, not really. Hillary was being handed, oh, sorry, okay, Hillary, it's your turn now.
Oh, what I'm asking, in 2020, when Trump decided to be reelected, when he decided he was going to run against Biden, did he go through a primary as the sitting president?
Oh, is that the question? The last sitting president that went through the process?
Yeah. When was the last time a sitting president went through a primary process?
Technically, all of them. Realistically, probably none of them. I'm trying to think of the last,
like
Carter,
a legit challenge.
Probably Carter in 79. Carter was really unpopular. He got primaried. He held off the challenger, and then Reagan landslided him. And then Reagan was 84, was, good grief, 49-1 in states. Mondale won Minnesota, and that was it. And then, so nobody knew. Bush was the sitting president in 92. Nobody challenged him. Clinton in 96. Nobody challenged him.
Impeached. Clinton got challenged because he had gotten impeached, but they dropped out. They dropped out because they couldn't get on the ballot. It happened in 96. He had challenges, but they couldn't get on the ballot.
When you say there were challengers, again, it's like this year, name the guy that was on the ballot against Biden. Was there someone? Yeah, but that's why I say technically yes, but realistically no.
Challenges, but they couldn't get, and that's the nuance of it, right? So technically they had challengers, but they couldn't get access to a nationwide ballot, which is
again, because in the primaries there is no nationwide ballot.
Yeah, you got to win the states.
You have to win the states. So Clinton really was not. Clinton was staying in office. There was no, and then Bush in 2004. Yeah, but okay. So that's your point, and that's fine. Yes, I mean nobody was saying that Biden Biden was handed it wrongly. We all know that Biden was. Everybody knew Biden. That's fine.
Yeah. We wasn't saying it was. We're not saying it's bad. We're just saying that it was. It in 2020. We knew that it was going to be Biden when Clyburn came out and saved his ass in South Carolina. Remember, we talked about this.
Yeah,
Biden was getting his ass kicked the first 3 states, and then Clyburn came to save his ass in South Carolina, and that's here's the other part of that. Without knowing. As did Obama, and that there were phone calls made to, shall we say, influential Democratic kingmakers that were told, and you brought this up, right after that, Klobuchar dropped out, Buttigieg, yep, they were on his tail in 20. Yeah, what was it, 2020? Klobuchar and Buttigieg was on his tail in 2020,
and so they drop out. At that point, they had already forced Tulsi Gabbard out, the powers that be.
Yep. I'll never forget that speech, though. That was a hell of a speech Clyburn gave. We know Joe. Joe knows, but more importantly, Joe knows us. Joe came in and won South Carolina by like 30-something points. Like, it was insane. Clyburn got so much power, man. That dude but again, that goes back to, we've talked about this, the vetting of Joe Biden in 2020 absolutely. Didn't happen. Yeah.
But the problem is with Harris coming in, she wasn't primaried, and you can say, well, no sitting vice president, no sitting vice president was has ever had to be primaried either. Well, yeah, because we've never really had this situation, but in outside of 1968, when LBJ dropped out at the end, but even in that process, they had a process. It was truncated, but they at least had a process to come up with somebody. It was not the best choice, but that's why one of the reasons Nixon won in 68. But
they had some fight. They had some literal fights. They were fighting. Now that is how you fight for democracy, right there, buddy.
Well, yeah, that might not have been the only reason there was fighting in Chicago in 1968.
Oh my God, 68! In Chicago of all places, isn't it crazy?
So,
oh my God, man.
So if we were talking about fixing this and having it go from 10 down to 1, the first thing I would start with are actual 1 hour specials for each of the candidates. You have to sit down with, I don't even want to say journalists, because I don't really trust journalists per se.
I will put them in, and I will tell them, all right, this is your 1 hour to make your case for America.
And here's what you do. You have all 10 in 10 secluded studios, all at the same time, the same date. So if you have one in LA, one in Minnesota, you time it. So they're at the same time, they're cloistered. That's the word, cloistered. So they're separated. And then you ask them all the exact same questions about philosophy, about how their vision of the country. And you do it for an hour and you let them actually speak. And then you play those over the next week, however long we want to do this. And then you vote and you do it again. And you can be like, well, how many questions? How many? You know what? You can always come up with questions for people. And then when you get to, let's say, the final 4, now you get down into a debate structure where you have 4 people on the stage or sitting in chairs like you and I are doing around a round table. Who was it that did that? There was one that they did that. Was it the VP with Ryan, where they sat at a table and it was him and Biden, and and then the guy was right across. I've seen it. I'm trying to remember who one of the VP ones. I think they just did it at a table. But
who did Ryan run with? Who did Ryan run with?
Romney Ryan in 2012.
Oh, that was a dope ticket.
Yeah. So if you had those 4 sitting and you had the moderator who was again asking questions and to have them talk about, because now you're however many weeks in, you're however many hours in, and now you can start looking, saying, okay, here's where this person's philosophy is very different from this person's. And here's a question. All 4 of them have different points of view. So let's ask them. They all came up with a different question about what's the most effective way to protect the Second Amendment, right? And so they all have different ideas. And what do you think? What do you guys? So let's start with candidate 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then at the end of that, you say, all right, let's open it up. Candidate 1, go. And he's going, look, candidate 3, I don't think guns belong in the hands of anybody. I've said this from the start. The only people that should have guns are the police. And so you sitting there and saying that if somebody wants to go out and buy a tank because it's protected by the Second Amendment, the First Amendment has limits. So I think the Second Amendment should have limits. And liberty, I agree. Debates are silly as they are now, but the Douglas Lincoln debates made Lincoln. That's why he won, because those debates were so important that they actually wrote them down and then sent them out across the nation so that people were sitting down and reading the debates and saying, what did Douglas say? What did Lincoln say? And that's how they were deciding a lot of what they thought. And Lincoln won it almost exclusively on those. Now, of course, not exclusively, but that's the reason he won, is because of those debates. There's a way to do it, but Well, yeah, and so Liberty, you wouldn't have, if you were doing it the way we were doing it, as far as like a random test and then whittling it down and to 10 people, you wouldn't know the history of their platform, because these people wouldn't have history of platform, because you wouldn't be pulling from a group of politicians unless, okay, let's say for argument's sake, AOC decided to take the test, right? And don't spit take, but AOC passes the test. She makes it. And somehow randomly, and I truly mean randomly, she is selected to the 10. Now, somebody like her, because she's a politician, she's probably, you could say she has a leg up because she's known, but she might also be behind the 8 ball because she has policies. And so now one of those random people who's more like me going, look, AOC, you supported this big government, you supported this, you supported that, you've been on record for saying that you think abortion at any time is between the doctor and this, and I think that's, killing a baby. How would you justify a woman at 39 weeks walking into a clinic and because and now wanting abortion, and she says, well, it doesn't matter and that never happens anyway. I said, hold on, let's go through an argument here, because I was debating this with somebody I went to high school with who's very far left, and he was all about anti-abortion or pro-abortion, women, pro-choice, all the way. And we brought that up, me and a couple other people. We were like, well, look, where's the limit, right? And he said, well, it doesn't matter. And we talked about late-term abortions, and we're not making this an abortion argument. It's just as an example. And as we were talking, I said, okay, well, what about late-term abortions? Oh, they're so small. It's like, yeah, but 3% is still 70,000 abortions are done annually in the U.S. But if it's only 3% of the 660,000, that's still 70,000 late-term abortions. He said, well, yeah, but that's for different. I said, well, wait a minute. Okay, so let's have a hypothetical. And it was funny because he goes, I don't do hypotheticals. I was like, well, here's the hypothetical you did in the argument like 30 minutes ago. So let's do this hypothetical. Woman walks into abortion clinic, 39 weeks pregnant. And she says, I just found out that my husband, who is the father of my child, has just been arrested on child porn and child rape charges. The FBI came in and raided our house last week. And I was given a briefing about what the charges were and what he has done. He has made child porn. He is being accused of rape, murder, kill on a child. I cannot have that evil man's baby, right? I want an abortion. Do you allow it? Now, to my friend's credit, he said, well, 39 weeks, even in that situation, I don't think you can morally justify it even in that case. Because the baby, I believe in Roe v. Wade, and I believe in the viability of the baby, and that's kind of where it is. And so, yeah, 39 weeks is so long. I said, well, hey, I appreciate it. And then one of my dummy friends, who we've had on the show, James, goes, well, what about 25 weeks? And I went, no, you don't jump to 25.
You had him.
No, you don't go to 25 weeks. You go from 39 weeks to 36 weeks. And then you go from 36 weeks to 32 weeks. And now you start going developmentally back to 20 weeks. You don't go for, anyway. So I think that if you had those type of debates, you could find people that would work and be better. And the way our setup is now, like Liberty said, like the debates that are coming up with Trump and Harris, I'm going to be watching more out of a sense of morbid curiosity to see which one hurts themselves more versus which one builds himself up. Because I think if you have a knockout blow that's going to happen in the debate, it's going to be something that one candidate says something that the other candidate has, oh, I completely disagree that he's a bad debater. That's how he won the 2016 election. He destroyed Hillary Clinton, and he didn't get to debate against Biden. But if you have Trump say something that Harris has prepared the line for, you know, like Reagan did. Reagan had the Mondale line. If you remember, Mondale started talking about, you know, they brought the question up about age, and I don't think it was Mondale. I think the moderator actually brought it up, the question. But Reagan's team knew age was coming up. They knew it. And Trump can't prepare like this. He can't do what Reagan did because it's not fresh. But Reagan goes on, he says, well, I think that as president, it would be something that with age, this is going to be a big part of the debate. And I'm going to right now promise the American people that I will not make age part of this debate because I think it's unfair to point out the youth and immaturity of my opponent. And it was the knockout blow. I mean, that's kind of how he said it, but I could see something like that. I could see Harris coming in and trying to hit Trump with the convictions, with a criminal conviction. And if Trump has something prepared to come back and say something about her DA, time at being a DA, I could see Trump saying something stupid about Kamala Harris's initial, shall we say, well, come on, she had sex with Willie Brown and that's how she got her first job, right? Okay. So if Trump is stupid enough to bring that up and Harris absolutely hammers him on, you know, at least he didn't grab me by the kitty cat, at least he had permission, unlike you who just grabs people by the kitty cat, as you've said. Something, and I don't know what it is. That's why political speechers, it's showbiz. Yeah. That's why the writers, whoever the writer for the campaign is, plus the S2 intelligence agent who has the best guess that says, I think this will come up. That's who's going to win the debate. You're going to get one, max 3 really good sound bites.
Yep. And
if you get 3 sound bites and it goes 2-1 for either candidate, they have an advantage. If it goes 3-0 to either candidate, that's who wins. So I think this debate could change.
I see it's going to be a lot like the Biden debate, honestly.
Was there a Biden debate?
Yeah, it was.
I don't even remember.
So Trump came out I think they're both are going to come out very calm, very measured.
You're talking about 2020 debate?
No. This one, the 24 debate.
Oh,
2024. The first
Trump was brilliant in that. Trump was brilliant in that knockout debate.
And what I'm expecting Trump to do is come out and be the even-tempered centrist candidate, right?
To start for the first 30 minutes.
Right. And what's going to happen is you're going to try to get a Kamala Harris who's going to come out and be the serious anti-Trump. And she's going to poke and prod and try to rattle the cage, right? Mm-hmm. Where you're going to get the tipping point is who is going to crack first, right? Because
first mistake.
When Kamala gets nervous, she starts.
Kamala, how dare you?
Kamala.
You just said Kamala.
I said Kamala. Kamala. Yep. Kamala. So that's how I tell myself. Kamala. Oh, yep. Nope. It's Kamala. So what you have to do, right?
Kamala.
Yep. If you get her to the point to where she's rocking and fidgeting, she's gonna get that nervous defensive chuckle, and that's where Tulsi excelled at.
The laugh.
Yep.
And if the laugh comes out.
But what you're going to run into, though, is you have to be careful, because if you get Trump flustered early, he has a hard time recovering. The recovery is going to be key. Once Trump gets flustered, he gets into personal attacks, and it's not going to work because it's going to backfire. Because Trump doesn't have an off switch. He goes straight for the jugular, and it's not going to work with this candidate. He has to be measured, and he has to be presidential. And if he gets to that point, he's going to go for the jugular like he's been doing in these rallies. And I despise Lindsey with everything in me, because he is the worst kind of freaking man in the world. He has no freaking spine, and it bothers me. But he was right about it. You have to be regal. You have to be presidential. Yeah. That rah-rah shit ain't gonna work. If he stays measured, if he stays reserved, if he presents a presidential tone and a calm demeanor in this debate, he'll be fine. But the first one to get rattled is gonna lose. That's it. Because you can see in that interview, and then we'll go ahead and pivot to the interview, because I finally watched it today. Well, correction, I watched about 10 minutes of it till I realized it was just a fluff piece. And
I watched the whole thing.
She is such a horrible interviewer, and that's why she can't go in front of the media, and that's why they can't put her in front of the media. They can't. So,
and this is right off the bat, before she even did the interview. Now, I only heard one thing about the interview, and that is that, well, I should say two things. I heard that she did it with Walz, and then I heard that CNN did not do a full unedited here's the interview.
No, they did not.
Which is traditional.
Yep.
And so as I watched it, I was I'm not even sure what the word was. Like, I sat there and I went, do we really have somebody that can't sit down with Dana Bash, who is about as reliable a Democrat as there is? And to Dana Bash's credit, she actually asked a few questions.
It was as heavily,
not all of them.
It was as heavily produced as an interview could be. And for her team, I blame her team, because you couldn't be set up with any better than that, right? Dana Bash gave her all kinds of softballs. Like, hey man,
she asked a few good questions. I think she asked 3 or 4 out of how many questions do you think she asked through the whole interview? 10?
If that. But none of the questions she asked were questions that were like, oh, I got caught off guard. All of those questions were very easy questions that a presidential candidate who's been on the campaign trail for 6 weeks should be able to handle.
Here's why I disagree with that. Her asking Harris, now you could say, well, we knew that probably she was going to ask some policy questions. I don't think that her team thought Dana Bash was going to, 1, ask her about her former position on fracking, and then 2, double down and say, hold on.
Oh yeah. She didn't think
not
the fact checking. I think the fact checking caught her. But see to that point though, when she got fact checked, you could see her whole body position kind of shift, and she got that awkward turn, and that's what's going to happen in the debate. And that's why you got to be real. That's why, man, her team has to notice that, and her team has to really work on her, because she gets flustered quickly.
Yeah. Well, the other one was she went after Walz, doubled down on him also on the military thing. Oh, yeah. And he tried to filibuster, and she came right back and said, "Nah, that's not what I asked," and asked him again, and he filibustered again. Now, if she had said, "With all due respect, Governor, I asked you a pretty fair question that's pretty important to people, and you just ignored what I asked twice," Did you lie about your record?
Yep.
It was that close, and I didn't expect Dana Bash to the third time, but the fact that Dana Bash asked even the fracking question and then the military question, and not so much asked the questions, but followed up with the hold on now.
Well,
That's you're not answering. You're not being accurate. You're like my response when I posted it, because I did a little live tweet way after the fact, if you can call it live tweet, when I was watching. But like the fracking, I don't believe that Kamala Harris for a minute won't get rid of fracking if she can. If she has a Democratic House and Senate, I think they absolutely push a fracking ban as quickly as they possibly can. I think they just do, because it's not something that needs more than the 50 votes. You know, if you control the Democratic House, or I'm sorry, if you have over 50, the 50% in the House, and you have, even if it's a 50-50, because you could have some senators from fracking states like Pennsylvania who might be a Democrat, and even Fetterman, like who thought Fetterman was going to be the voice of reason in the Democratic Party? Not me.
At all.
Did not know his stroke seemed to have, like, to me, like, broken some good things loose. But even if
I missed him. I got
but even if Fetterman, because he's in Pennsylvania and he says, no, we need fracking, I think in something like that he would fall in line, because they would, whatever term they would convince him, they would buy him off with something else, whatever it is. And so, yeah, I think they would pass it. Roe v. Wade, or some form of, so they're going to pass something federally.
They can't with Roe v. Wade. So once the Supreme Court rules on it, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. It has to go back down to the states. Like, you have to do a whole different amendment, and then 2/3 of the states have to ratify again. Okay,
so here's the thing. Roe v. Wade, it was an overreach by the original Supreme Court that overturned it. Basically wrote the law themselves, and they said, here's what the federal law is, but they were only realistically dealing with one case in Texas. What they were supposed to at that point say is, hey, the law that you guys passed in Texas isn't constitutional. Instead, that Supreme Court said the constitutional law allows for abortion under the 14th Amendment everywhere, completely ignoring the 10th Amendment, which is whatever powers are not granted to the federal government shall be at the state. So if you come in and you are Harris and you believe in abortion for all, for any right, what you can do is you can pass some federal things that basically say, okay, you can have your state law, but if you have your state law, we are going to give more funding to those other states that do provide abortion, and we are also going to provide funds for this, that, and the other. So it's a funding thing, and they will. They're going to try to pass whatever. I'm not. Look, I have never written a bill.
Yeah, that'd be. But yeah, there's ways around it. I get it, but I'm talking about in terms of like federally, Roe v. Wade is dead. But it won't. It
won't be called. Yeah. It'll be a federal law. So here's the thing. You want to know how easy it is to pass? Here's the federal law, because it's not a constitutional thing. Federal law. We, as the Democratic Party, are proposing, and we are going to pass a law that says no woman and no doctor and no individual who is a participant, actively engaged, or a witness of any abortion shall be charged with any crime at any applicable federal level. Any individual who is charged at the state level will automatically be given the protections of the federal government under the habeas corpus of the 14th, under habeas corpus of the Constitution, and it shall be moved from the state court to the federal court.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
Now, would that hold up? I don't know. But it would take a long time to get back up to the Supreme Court.
Whole lot of paperwork.
Yeah.
Whole lot of paperwork.
So Yeah, so I think it's going to be interesting to see how the debates break down. I really do wish that if you're not going to have people running the debates that are going to be fair and like what's her face, Candy, who ran the Obama Romney and who killed Romney. Like I blame her more for Romney losing than any other individual in the 2012, because Romney had said something about, there was something about a terrorist attack and Obama had said, no, it wasn't a terrorist attack. And Candy Crawley said, no, hey, Mr. Governor Romney, that's not what was said. He actually said this. And then it turned out she was wrong.
Oh, wow.
Like, yeah. Obama had said it was not a terrorist attack. And so if she had just shut up, it was a winning point by Romney. Because you remember the first debate, Romney wiped Obama out.
Oh, yeah.
But then for Crawley to
what do you call
fact check,
a bad debate night.
yeah. And then yeah, right. And then for Crawley to basically cut Romney off at the knees, that completely threw Romney off, because immediately he went into the, oh, I'm sorry if I'm wrong. I didn't, because Romney's such a nice guy. Yeah. Now, Romney might be the one politician that is truly a nice guy.
Yeah.
I don't agree with how some of his policies, he's moved. I used to like to think that he was a conservative, but in a lot of ways he's not. He's at best, he's probably a Manchin, where Manchin's this much on the left, Romney's this much on the right. So not really a conservative. But like right now, you and me, and probably anybody that sees this 100% would say, if we could swap out Manchin and Romney for the two that are in there, Trump and Harris right now, would you do it? I think you'd probably have somewhere around 95% of people say, yeah. Well, I mean, the people that wouldn't do it on the Harris side would be like, well, she's winning now.
Guys like Romney and Manchin are from they're from a time where they still believe in partisan support, right? Like, hey man, I'm not going to get everything I want, but yeah, I'm at least willing to hear you out. I think now, or bipartisan, I think now we're at a point where Congress is like, yo, it's either my way or the highway, right? And I don't know, I still hold Newt Gingrich responsible for a lot of it. I despise that dude with everything that's in me. I think he was the death of society. Him and his new wave of Republicans, I think, are the new spawns of the GOP, and they are responsible for this entire new generation of special ed GOPians that displace guys like me and traditional conservatives. So,
well, I'll go back even further. I blame Kennedy.
What? No way.
Absolutely.
Oh, wait, which Kennedy? Which Kennedy? Because it was
John F., the hero of your grandma.
Fitz?
Here's why. Hold on. Here's why. Before 1959, before 1959, there was a level of decorum in presidential elections and debates, and how they ran the elections. We'll go over Gingrich in a minute, but there was some decorum about what you did and what you didn't do, and things like that. Come along to 1959.
Yes.
The Kennedy campaign wrote the book on dirty tricks. They would send hecklers to the Nixon campaign. They printed false, this is what Nixon wants, and then false, like Nixon supports the death of all black people, and official, and what they would do is they would write it up like it was an official Nixon release. Yes. Like President Nixon's participants, we believe that black people should not have the right to vote, and we should go back to the ways of conservative America, and black people should be put back into the fields. And they would write this stuff up. Now, I'm not saying that's exactly, so don't like get on me and say, well, no, that didn't happen. But those dirty tricks, those came out of the Kennedy, those were born out of the Kennedy campaign. Now, you can say, well, it wasn't Kennedy himself doing it. Well, no, of course not. Any more than Nixon didn't break into the Watergate Hotel. So, okay, but if you're the guy at the top of the ticket, you're responsible for what your campaign does. And then Kennedy moving forward wins. Kennedy gets assassinated. LBJ becomes Big Dick LBJ. And he says, I'm going to take me and my penis and we're going to kill Vietnamese one at a time by me swinging my Johnson around. And if you know any history, you know what you know that I'm not really joking when you talk about LBJ's attitude. This is the man who basically regularly used the N-word. We need to pass the civil rights bill because all these Negroes need more help. And he wouldn't say Negroes.
Yes.
For the record. I'm avoiding the N-word and avoiding getting fired. Yeah. So then in Nixon, in 68, Nixon was done. Nixon's like, hey, look, I went through this in 60. This was so ridiculous. Not only the media, because everybody in media were Yale and Harvard guys, and I was just this middle class. I was the outsider from Yorba Linda, California. They attacked me in ways that were just absolutely horrible. They went after my family. They just all the dirty tricks. And the GOP said, no, look, hey, Richard, we need you. We need somebody that can turn this around. We need somebody who can fix America, and you're the guy. And so he finally kind of went, well, okay, all right, let's get the team together. And when he got the team together, he basically gathered his campaign people and he said, look, I am not going to lose because of dirty tricks.
Yep.
I lost in 1960 because I tried to keep the straight road. So, you know what? If that's the way that and I already know they're going to, so if they're going to go after me like this, then that gloves are off. Okay. So that's where really the downgrading of the entire presidential election kind of went from there. It didn't help that Nixon then Watergate and the crazy thing about Watergate was Nixon was going to win 500 electoral college votes. He was going to win everything but 2 or 3 states.
Oh yeah.
And he did. I mean, it was a wipeout, right? And then he gets caught again. He didn't get caught with Watergate. The problem was when he was approached and said, hey, this is going to be a problem. How do you want to handle it? You either need to fire your best friend, who is one of your 2 chiefs of staff, because Nixon had 2. He kind of had his political one and he kind of had his everyday buddy one. And they said, you're going to have to fire the everyday buddy one, or, we can try to soft heal this and try to, just hope they don't find out what happened. But if you do that and they find out, that's going to be, and this was his lawyer that came to him. And if they find that out, look, I can't support that action, but those are your 2 options. And if you choose that, I mean, I'll do the best I can, but if push comes to shove, I've got to tell him that's what it was. And he chose loyalty. He chose loyalty to his friend when he should have absolutely thrown his friend. If he throws the friend under the bus and says, I did not know this was happening, and when I was told this is what happened, I immediately asked for the resignation of this buddy, and it breaks my heart that he ever would have let anybody do this on my behalf. I did not know. And then that would have been the end of it. But because he tried to cover it up, then you get into the tapes and the investigation and all that stuff. And then you get the cover up of the tapes, which again was not Nixon, but was certainly somebody on his staff, because Nixon could not have done it. Nixon was an idiot when it came to technology. He was a technophobe. Okay. So then Ford doesn't get elected. Carter comes in. Reagan comes in and wipes the floor with Carter, and then Mondale, and you just kind of go from there. And then Clinton You had the media has been unfair to every Republican. I mean, you go back to 92 election with, if you go back historically, the press has never been on the Republican side all the way from Lincoln. But it's funny, in 92, when Clinton beat George Herbert Walker Bush, the following year, this is how I understand it went. The following year, the National Journalist Society or something, one of the big journalism group, they get together and they have, conferences, right? Like big whatever, as they do. And the keynote question was, did we treat President Bush fairly in the last election? So somebody got the bright idea to ask President Bush what he thought about that question. They said, hey, this is what they're doing. What do you think? And he said, well, they're asking the question, aren't they? If you treated him fairly, you wouldn't be asking the question. So you now fast forward, the press couldn't do to Trump what they thought they could do. And ironically, the press actually put Trump in a position to win. If you remember, all the liberals, all those leftists were going, oh yeah, Trump. Yeah, that's who you should run. Yeah, these other guys. No, let's go after these other guys. Trump. Yeah, that's a guy that, sure. That's who the Republicans should, because they thought Trump would lose to Hillary. Absolutely thought that. And then the Biden campaign, the 2020, the press absolutely held the water for Biden. He never came out of the closet, or I'm sorry, out of the he never came out of the garage or whatever. What did they say? He was in the. They said something about how he was hiding. Where did Cuomo go hide out? In the basement? Is that what it was? They kept him in the basement?
Who's that?
There was kind of a phrase for Biden, like he never came out of the basement. That's what it was. They kept him in the basement so he didn't have to.
In the basement.
Yeah. So Biden, like, and like right now we're seeing a live action of Harris being in the basement. Exactly because of what you just said. She had all the time in the world to prepare. Now, do I think she had the questions in advance? I don't think so. Not this time, because she got caught off guard by some of these questions. And Walz's answer, again, was horrendous. And it was only one question. So you got to wonder how much else got cut. But I will give Harris credit for two questions. I thought she answered very, very well when Dana Bash said, President Trump has brought up your Indian background and that you are running away from being Indian and you've only become black since you are running as president. And how do you respond? And she smiled and she said, that's a stupid question. I'm not going to answer it. Next. I thought that was great. I literally said that was as good an answer as I've ever seen her do. And then at the end, Bash kind of did something the same, and she did the same thing. She's like, no, I'm done. But on the other side, and I don't know if we're going to play any clips, but when they first, we are or not? Yes or no?
We don't have any.
Oh, no clips. Okay. When they first opened the interview, my first thought was, who agreed to staging this at a table like that? That looked like you just randomly walked into somebody's house and said, all right, well, this is where we're going to do the interview. Let's just set it up here. That could have been an interview with the local person running for the school board. That could have been an interview with the local lady who called the police, and the police officer came and got her cat out of the tree, and they're interviewing the cat lady and the officer. That was my first thought of who in the world set this up. My second thought is this. I said a few weeks ago to you, KJ, I think Harris, for her age, looks phenomenal. I take it back. Either the last few weeks have worn her down that much, or the high definition cameras that they used in a close-up setting showed her age. Because I went, this is a completely, certainly from 2020, this is a completely different woman. And I'm not trying, before anybody says I'm bagging on her looks, that is not what I'm doing. I am saying that for whatever reason, she has aged, in my opinion, disproportionately in the last 4 years, and zooming in and giving her close-up camera time was a mistake. Because when they showed Walz, I mean, Walz looked fine. He looked like some, and then they showed Dana Bash, who's, I'm not sure how old Dana Bash is, but she's not a spring chicken. She's at least, I would assume she's at least my age. If you want to look up how old she is, but yeah. I thought that
we can be fair. The level of as being the vice president of the United States and being a reporter at CNN
could be absolutely
a little,
oh, sure.
There are varying degrees of stress. So
yes, but what I'm saying, it was a bad. I think it was a bad setup for Harris visually in a lot of ways. Oh. And have you ever watched a TV show where the actress is a little more mature, and every time they show that actress, it's just it looks a little bit more like your background than my background. So like they go to the younger actors, and it's nice and clear. You can almost see the names. You can see, and then they go to the older actress, and there's a little bit of film gel, is I believe what it's called. A little bit of gel going on. And the older the actress, the more fuzzy it looks. Like there are some actresses that, especially in dramas, that they like if you have an eye for it, and next time you're watching a show with an older lead woman, pay attention to how clearly you see the other characters versus how clearly you see her. And that's where, I'm not saying that they should have done that for Harris, but they should have done it for Harris. She should have asked for something, because that was just not a good setup for her. And it'll be interesting in the debate, because if whoever does Trump's makeup did it whatever he did last week, he's going to look like a complete idiot, because he went from Orange Man bad to fairly healthy looking Orange Man to assassination attempt to, oh, he actually looks like a normal dude. And then sometime in the last week, somebody went in and got the, I don't know what makeup sponge, and just kind of went, okay, you're good. And he looked horrible. So I don't know. All of the candidates, when they go on these debates and everything, have so much makeup caked on to begin with. It's going to be interesting. Maybe they need to introduce both of their makeup artists, have them come out with them, because they get touched up in between. When they do that commercial break, that's the other thing. They come out and they touch up their makeup too. But yeah, the camera does not love either of these people either.
Well, yeah, like I said, a lot of it's a little rough. If you know, I don't know if you've been following or not. Me and Liberty's kind of been going back and forth while you've been talking, having a great conversation about Democrats.
Well, thanks. I guess I'm not important. I'll just check out here.
No. We've been double tasking, man. Double tasking.
Chaplain, stop talking. We're having a conversation in text messages over here.
Oh, double tasking. Double tasking. No, I don't vote Democrat. You just assume I vote Democrat because I don't let you bullshit. You just assume I vote Democrat because I don't let you sit up here and bullshit and spit fallacy. But I know I don't vote Democrat. I haven't voted Democrat for quite a while.
KJ, here you go, Liberty. Oh. KJ and my text group with AJ as well. These two men might be the most true, what do we call, undecided voters that I could possibly. I've asked AJ to come on too. He's like, no, man. That ain't my thing.
No, we're not undecided. We're true independents. We are independent.
Are you decided who you're voting for?
I haven't, and that's
why I'm saying you're undecided, dude. You just.
No. Well,
I'm saying you're undecided.
This cycle, I'm undecided, but
that's all I'm talking about.
No. I was answering him when he said,
"Oh, I see."
Like, yeah.
But this time, no, he is
independent. I don't vote them.
And I left the GOP in 2015 because I thought Trump was a potential fascist. I did vote for Trump in 2020 because he was, in my opinion, 3 for 3 on SCOTUS nominations. And I am a one-issue voter, which is the Supreme Court. And so I felt like I would have been hypocritical not to vote for Trump on that. That said, I'm a conservative libertarian. And so I am a conservative in social, I am a conservative in economic, and I am a libertarian on an individual basis. KJ is pretty much, well, on this policy, I lean a little right. On this policy, I lean a little left. If I were to say, if I were to label KJ is a common sense independent. If you can convince him that your side is right, he's more willing to lean that way. And if you try to convince him in a way that doesn't make sense or goes against what he has read, then you either need to convince him why you're right or why what he has read is wrong. And he is more than willing to be open to, okay, so this is what I read. That doesn't sound right. And if you can come back and say, well, here's some other sources that tell you why that source is kind of bullshit, he'll go, oh, fair enough. Okay. So.
Yep. Liberty Twitchers came on this second week he came on. So he says this is where we are, right? So
yeah, he didn't say Asians were, he never said Asians were harmed for having higher scores.
We talked about that last week. I'm not doing that shit again this week.
Yeah, that's not what he said either.
So this is where we are. So Democrats are not soft on crime. Let me try.
Yes, they are.
Let me try to explain this to you again.
They are soft on crime.
Here's how this works, right? Most states in the union are ran by Republican governors, right? You can't have Democrats who are soft on crime, right? And Republican governors who are hard on crime. They don't gel. They don't mix, right? You can have cities that are soft on crime, maybe, but states and all, when you look at federal legislation, show me where has Democratic policy has been soft on crime over the last 30 years. Where?
San Francisco, Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, anywhere with a serious gang problem, anywhere that will not prosecute murders based on.
Tell me a period, and let's look at this, right? Let's look at this historically. Tell me a period in the United States history where we haven't had a crime issue. We sit back and we like to cherry pick, and here's where we get mixed up, right? We sit back and we like to cherry pick, right? We'll sit back and we'll say, oh, well, Chicago has a gang issue. Well, shit, Chicago's always had a damn gang issue. Chicago was founded on gang issues. New York was founded on mob issues. New York was founded on gang issues. And
I don't know if founded is the right word, but I know what you're saying.
Black. Hello? They weren't fucking black.
Nobody said, hold on. We're not saying it's black.
Liberty Twitcher is implying it.
Oh.
What I'm saying is you guys got to stop with this bullshit with the Democrat shit, talking about the lower education. We don't Stop.
So for the record, KJ, I wasn't saying that in terms of white and black. I'm saying it in terms of Democrats and Republicans.
In terms of crime, right? And then I'm telling you, and then we sit back and we say, well, San Francisco had crime. Well, in the 60s, guess what San Francisco also had? Crime. And guess who wasn't allowed in San Francisco in the 60s? It wasn't us. It was the hippies. They had crime in the 60s too. I'm saying is the cities, the United States, for as long as America has been around since 1776, there has been crime issues. I will tell you, crime. And matter of fact, when we came over on the Mayflower, because we learned that from our esteemed colleagues, right? When we read our book, right? We learned that when England sent us over on the Mayflower, they weren't sending their best and brightest, as 45 like to put it. They sent
the book he's referencing is called White Trash.
What
I'm
did they
blanking
send,
on the author's name. Oh, they sent the scum of England and scum of France and scum of wherever Scotland, especially Scotland. That's why Scotland. Well, criminals, but yeah, the dregs. What was the word? They used a word for the shitty people, and I can't remember. Yeah, but it was a really good word.
And then what they did is they made the criminals marry the prostitutes. That was the only way they would escape the crime. Remember, in the book.
So KJ, so here's the thing, KJ. I think this would be my argument. I don't know if it would be Liberty's argument. This would be my argument. Is that saying that there's always been a crime issue does not remove the argument or even satisfy the argument that especially in today's society, modern history society, that Democrats are softer on crime than Republicans. Now, to me, this is why I would argue that that's accurate. And it comes down to the empathy of the parties. Most of, when you talk about the hippies movement, especially, and the movement of the Democratic Party towards the left, that is all based in feeling and empathy. Even as a party, I feel your pain. I'm there with you. I feel your pain, right? Where Republicans have said, look, there's laws on the books. You break the laws, you go to jail. We don't care if you come across the border with your baby because you want to escape what's going on in Nicaragua, even if we caused it because we overthrew Noriega. We don't want you here because you're crossing the border illegally. Do it the right way. So you can still have crime, but when you see cities like San Francisco and California pass a law that says it's decriminalizing shoplifting as long as it's under $960. Decriminalizing. You get caught shoplifting for under $960, you will not be arrested. If you're caught, you'll be given a summons. So if you have a party that looks at laws like that, or looks at, well, people who are coming across the border, people who are stealing in San Francisco or in California, they don't have the money to get what they need. And so, you know what? We need to understand the plight of we need to feel.
But that's not why. That's not why they're doing that, though. That's the whole point.
Wait, which state?
The reason they decriminalize, the reason they're saying, hey, if you're stealing under $960, we're giving you a summons, is because the jails are so overrun. We have nowhere to put you. We have nowhere to put you.
Because every time you can still.
No, it's the same thing in all the municipalities. Atlanta just had to pay a 7-figure lawsuit because they had people stacked up, 13 people to a cell. And they had to pay a civil rights lawsuit because they had nowhere to put them. They were packing them in like sardines. It was a civil rights violation. So they had to let them go. It's an over.
Here, KJ, this is where the problem becomes. Okay, so if you're a Republican and you say, what's the answer to that problem? The Republican answer is you build more jails. Right? But right? Okay. And people say, well, that's heartless. You're not taking, and the Democrat side is, well, you just don't prosecute as many people. You lower the limit. You make it easier. Now, you and I, we've talked about this.
Yeah.
The very first thing that I think needs to happen at the federal level is decriminalization of marijuana, and everybody that is in jail for a marijuana-based crime needs to be released.
You really got to let it go, dude. It is not just only the Democrats. My God, that's got to be horrible living life thinking that way.
Well, okay, KJ, but I think what he's talking about though, when he says Democrats, he's talking about, and tell me if I'm wrong, Liberty, he's talking about lawmakers. He's talking about those. If you were to say the average, if I go next door, I don't know if my neighbor is a Democrat or a Republican, but if you go next door to a neighbor and he's a Democrat, and I say, hey, do you think that when somebody goes into a Walgreens and they steal $150 worth of makeup and then they turn around and sell it online, do you think they should be arrested? 99 out of 100 Democrats on the street are going to say, well, yeah, of course. They shoplifted. So you're talking about some of the policymakers, right? That is not to say that Republicans do a good job of differentiating between what should be criminalized and what shouldn't, because the reason a lot of those people are in jail right now for marijuana-based crimes is because of Nancy Reagan just say no, and some of the laws that were passed. Yeah, and Liberty. The problem is sometimes Republicans.
Lindsey Graham is soft on crime.
Lindsey Graham is soft in the head, is what Lindsey Graham is. It depends on which way the wind is blowing. Is Lindsey Graham? If you told Lindsey Graham, hey, it's polling that you're going to be reelected if you come out on the side of endorsing free heroin, Lindsey Graham would be the first one saying, I got a vein right here. Hey, let me show you how much I love heroin. So yeah, that's a good example. I know I'm legitimately saying that's a good example. And there's a few Democrats that are similar. But
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
There are some Democrats who are the soft as Sherman.
Right.
But see, that's never been my point. Like it's not like I've never once come on here and be like, oh, Democrats, they're not. Some Democrats are soft as Sherman, but at the same time, it's not just an kumbaya issue where it's like, oh, Democrats, you killed the guy. That's okay. We'll just, don't worry about it. We'll let you out this time as long as you learned your lesson. That's not the case, right?
Okay, KJ, let me ask you this then. If you had that situation, you had a guy, and race doesn't come into it. You had a guy kill another guy.
We're here every Sunday, 8:30, my brother. Come, please. Bring videos, bring videos, white papers, bring them all. We're here every Sunday, 8:30. Yeah. You're more than welcome.
And we'll let you come on and add your voice.
Historical presidents, because I wasn't born, or I was too young in the 90s, is a bullshit ass excuse. You should know your history.
Yeah. And
don't come with that bullshit, it doesn't matter, because everything, history is important. We learn from our history.
And get your V for Victory mask, your Guy Fawkes mask ready, because right now you've got the I don't even know. I like it though. It's kind of the Halloween mask, but But I'll agree that in general, Democrats are softer on crime than Republicans.
For who though? Because
I think for everybody.
We got two different Americas. Because Democrats were foot in the asses on us for a very long time.
Okay.
Democrats have been very, very foot in the asses for my community.
So,
very long time.
I agree.
Who authored the crime bill that crushed us for 20 years? Who authored that bill? I'll give you a hint. He's the president.
Oh, dude. You're talking to I can't believe you want me to defend the Democrats at this point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I refuse to defend. I refuse to defend the Democrats and say they soft on bill. The Democrats are hard on crime. It depends on who they're enforcing the crime with. That's the idea.
So okay. So I do think in more modern times, because so you've made this argument. I believe it was you. When you start talking about some of the racial issues with the police in Los Angeles and Chicago and New York, it was absolutely based in racial issues, because in New York, it was the Irish who were going in and getting jobs as police officers, and Irish for decades and if not centuries were seen as the scum of the white world, and suddenly they're like, well, but however, I may be a piece of crap from Ireland, but at least I'm not one of those boys from Africa, right? And so they would be especially hard on the free African Americans, the free Americans of Black ancestry in New York. Same as Chicago, same as Los Angeles, the cops, right? I've heard an argument that the FBI was formed out of racism. Maybe it happened. I don't know. I think it's probably a good chance that who's the main FBI guy?
J.
Edgar Hoover. I was thinking Hoover, and I was thinking that's not right. I'm getting old when I can't remember J. Edgar Hoover's name. You could argue and say, did J. Edgar Hoover have some anti-African American ideas? You could certainly point to some examples that sure made it seem like that. But J. Edgar Hoover also allegedly was a closet transvestite. So who knows?
The closet. The dude used to dress a drag in the office.
Yeah, I'm joking. I know.
He's a flaming fairy.
Dude, Bugs Bunny.
Mad at people.
Bugs Bunny. I think if I remember right, there's a Bugs Bunny cartoon making fun of Jay. There's a Looney Tunes.
Did you hear that they had FBI surveillance put the dude, what's his name? The illustrator, the animator for Bugs Bunny was under surveillance after they came out with the cartoon.
Quimby?
No, I can't remember his name. It was I think
it's the voice.
What's it?
That's the voice. I thought it was
the animator that did the episode, because they did the episode making fun of they had him in like a pink ballerina tutu with like handcuffs or whatever.
I thought Quimby just directed all. Anyway, but whoever came up with the story for that does not surprise me if the FBI put him under investigation. So I think that when you look in modern history, the Democrats have been more likely to have been softer on crime on a few things. Okay, specific things. They've been softer on crime when it comes to crossing the border. They've been softer on crime, especially very recently, on things, again, like the shoplifting. I think that you could make an argument that the pushing for the decriminalization of drugs could be seen as soft on crime. I don't necessarily agree with that, because I think that
soft though.
Huh?
What drugs are being soft though?
Well, that's what I'm saying. There are people there are more Democrats that support decriminalizing marijuana than Republicans. And I think you have especially people that are a little bit older, let's say older than my age in general, see marijuana as everything that it was said from the 80s, right?
Do you know who owns marijuana dispensaries?
Pfizer?
I'm saying.
Am I close?
But it's all profit though. It ain't, it's not, they're not doing it for citizens. They're not doing it for.
Well, I'd be curious to see what the facts are on that, because I know some people I know a guy who has made lots and lots of money growing marijuana in Northern California. And I can tell you right now, that dude could not be further away from Pfizer if you, I don't even know how you could get him further away from Pfizer. That dude is the ultimate.
He's one of the lucky ones, because in Colorado, those corporations snatched up all of that land.
Well, and that doesn't surprise me, because I think you also have a situation where these it's kind of like when you have the petroleum companies who go out and they have invested heavily in solar and in wind and potentially in nuclear. So it's business. Like it's business. Big pharma. If you're saying they went out and they are buying the marijuana to make money off the marijuana, I would actually argue they're probably going in not to make the money off of marijuana, but to limit how much marijuana is actually available to be grown and to be accessed by the average person.
I'm pretty sure.
Because for me, okay, I've been in long-term pain management through the Army for the past, well, since I've got here. So at least 2.5 years. I've had shoulder surgery. I've had a bum, legs, back, knee, all that stuff, right? So as a teacher, if I become a teacher next summer, I'll have to find out what the rules are as far as medical marijuana and all that. But I know people that have had chronic pain. I know people that have really struggled that use CBC and marijuana, and some of them smoke, some of them use the oils or whatever, which I can't use at all in the military because even most CBC will make you fail your analysis test. So there are some benefits that I wouldn't mind doing weed. I'd be real interested. You'd have to come with you'd have to come with more specific. That's a pretty broad stroke.
All I'm saying is show me.
That's a broad stroke.
Democrats are letting people get murdered on the streets and they're purposely not prosecuting them. All I'm saying is show me.
Okay. This goes back to what KJ was saying about the city and county jails. If you have a guy come in, and again, this is Democrat versus Republican, but it also has some common sense. If you have a guy come in and the police bring this dude in and say, we're booking this guy on assault because he punched this other dude, we want it booked, and they book him, and then they go through and they arraign him initially, and he gets in front of the judge and they say, all right, well, we don't have any more room in the county jail because what your charge would be a misdemeanor or a class D felony. And at this point, we don't have the room to keep a class D felony guy in. So you need to come back and you need to stand trial and this and that in 8 weeks. Meanwhile, the prosecutor is going, or well, not even the prosecutor, the ADA, the assistant prosecutor, is going, I've got 700 cases on my desk right now. This is 701. The officers are telling me the other guy didn't even want to press charges. Or, yeah, he was hurt, but there's a little bit of a question of who started the fight. We're not going to send the detectives out to go to the bar and pull all of the security footage because this dude is not an NFL guy. He's not a celebrity. He's not somebody he's going to care about. And so they were both. Was the other guy drinking? It was at a bar. Oh shit! Were they both drinking? Okay, look. Even if we took this to trial, the odds are the most we could get this guy for is assault, simple assault. So just kick him. Just kick him. Now, that's not to say that these guys, you have instances in New York and LA and Chicago and these big cities where there's a guy who's been arrested. There was one I read last week. The guy had been arrested something like 600 times. How do you even get arrested 600 times, right? The dude's on the street. You get arrested 600 times because you do the wrong thing 600 times. The prosecutor goes, dude, this guy, it's another stupid one. There's released plea deals. Okay, critics argue it was too lenient. Sure.
That's not a Democratic issue. That's a judicial issue, man.
So, okay. And Liberty, I can't believe you are making me defend a Democrat.
You have to. It's a judicial issue. That ain't got, look.
So you have the slaying. You're right. Okay. Here's why 100%. You're right. Makes sense on their Democrats. 100%. Because in Los Angeles, the DA is a Democrat, the mayor is a Democrat, the governor is a Democrat, the county commission are mostly Democrat, the city council is Democrat, the city votes Democrat. Hillary Clinton won something like 68% of Los Angeles County. Okay.
Sure.
So of course they're all Democrats.
Sure.
And then you have a guy come in who shoots a cop and kills her. As a Republican, to me, that guy should be strung up. He should be taken out, found convicted, taken outside, and strung up.
He should. I agree.
Now, you do have Democrats, and this is where I say the feeling of the parties comes into play. Okay, so the dude's name that you brought up was Gascon, right? Okay, so Gascon, the district attorney, Gascon.
Mm-hmm.
So he says, well, look, we can either spend, because it's not cheap, even to convict somebody on who has a public defender, because it takes time, it takes effort, it takes bringing the cops in, it brings the defendants in. A murder trial costs tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. So Gascon is saying, all right, dude, this dude, I don't know what the guy's history was. Okay, so I'm not, but if they are going to be able to make any type of an argument that this guy was mentally unstable, that he had any kind of problems in his life, that he was drunk, that he was high, that he was this, that he was that, any competent, even public defender is going to be able to at least make a case that this guy was not fully culpable. And unless the client, and even if the client's going, you know what, fuck that cop, I wanted to shoot him right in the head. That guy deserved it. You know, I saw her and I walked up and I put a gun back in her head, I pulled the trigger. A competent lawyer is going to say, this dude is crazy. Listen to him. He said he wanted to walk up and put a gun in the back of her head.
I love listening to you defend Democrats. Go, let's go.
So there was a show. Okay, I think it was a lot. Yeah. I agree. It's amazing that I am defending the guy. I'm saying I don't know. Here's the thing, Liberty. I don't know the case. But not even knowing the case, I can understand why this happens. I am not saying I agree. The first thing I said was, that dude is convicted of killing a cop. Out back, in the noose, string him up, electric chair, plug him in, line him up in the firing squad. I'll be the first one in the front row with my, you know what? I don't need a firing squad. You give me the rifle with a 30-06 from 20 yards, that dude is going to turn into mist, and I will happily pull the trigger.
You have to spend the $60,000 first. You have to spend the $60,000 first.
60, 600,000, whatever. It's going to be a lot.
But he has to sit 18 months first before he gets his trial date. So you
yeah. You start adding in all that. Or and now here's the thing. Gascon, I would be curious what the actual no, here's the thing, Liberty. I'm not defending Gascon because I don't know the particulars of the case. I am defending a hypothetical situation where I could see an argument being made for a potential outcome that is similar to whatever Arroyo's killer got. I don't know what he was convicted of. I don't know what the sentence was. I don't know if he was reprimanded and he was given X amount of time and then so I'm not really defending Gascon. I am defending the idea that Democrats include in their matrix of how to deal with crime an emotional factor that most Republicans don't. Okay. Now, I've made this argument for a long time, and I think it's fair, and it can apply to the criminal system as well. You take a Republican and a Democrat out into the redwood forest, and you show the Republican, you show them both. Let me rephrase. You show a conservative and a leftist that tree. Okay. I want to make it even more distinct. A conservative and a leftist that tree. And you ask the conservative first, how much is that tree worth? And he says, well, what's the going price of redwood lumber? And he's given a number. You say, okay, so out of this tree, it's this tall, it's this wide. Let's do the math on it. It can produce this many tons of panels of wood, of product, That tree is worth $650,000. But, you know, it's in the redwood forest. You can't really regrow a tree that. So there's a little bit of, you know, extra value, sentimental value, whatever you want to call it, intrinsic value. So let's round it up to an even million, right? And that's what the conservative says. And you ask the leftist and say, how much is this tree worth? And they say, it's worth more money than you have in all the world because it's such a beautiful tree and it can't be replaced. And in our lifetimes, it will never be regrown. And if you cut this tree, I would rather you cut my arm off than cut down this beautiful tree that nature has produced. Why? Because one is thinking on critical and for the most part, ignoring a lot of the emotional parts. And the other one is based on emotion. And when you talk about Democrats and you talk about lawmakers, and I think most Democrats, the average Democrat has more empathy than the average Republican. And I don't mean that as a bad thing. That's why I think so many actors are leftists, because empathy is part of their job, is trying to get in the skin of somebody else and try to empathize what that character's motivation is and why they think that way. Musicians, how will this affect my audience? How will this make my audience feel? And I think if they're a bunch of hippy dippies, but that's what they do. Where conservatives kind of go, look, dude, here's the rules. You follow the rules. And if this dude went up and shot this cop and you can prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt, and then he needs to go to jail, let alone death penalty for me. But in California, there is no death penalty. So you have a DA who was probably more empathetic towards this guy than he should have been. The Arroyo one that happened around 2021. Was that when it was? Theft. Well, I think the crime stats kind of are ridiculous right now, because I think that in general the stats are being manipulated in terms of, like, in California. I just made this argument with somebody else. The stats in San Francisco show that theft has gone down in the last 3 years. Why? Because they don't report theft that's under $960. If you were to say what's the overall value of theft in San Francisco, I guarantee you it's gone like that.
I don't think Republicans are soft on crime. I think it's relative. I think it's relative to what crimes, right? So when we say Republicans are soft on crime, it depends on what crime we're talking about. Republicans are tough on crime in terms of the border.
I know where you're going. I know where you're going.
But Republicans are extremely soft when it comes to felonies, certain criminals who get convicted of felonies. Republicans are extremely soft. Some Republican lawmakers will tell you, shit, convicted felons, felonies don't even matter. So it's all relative. It's all relative, man.
I saw what you did there.
It just depends. I didn't do anything.
I'm not talking about 34 felony convictions by any presidential candidate.
I just said.
I'm wrong. You know where I thought you were going to go with that?
What?
I thought you were going to say Republicans are more soft on white collar crime, especially when it comes to corporations.
No,
But I think both of them are. I think both
I think
parties
both
are.
of them are. Yeah, I think that the Club Med, finds a way, right? Club Med finds a way, but no, I think it depends on what crimes are being enforced, right? It just it's relative, right? Some crimes are enforced a lot stiffer than others. Some communities are enforced a lot harsher than others. It just depends.
Hey, Liberty, can you tell me real quick the name of the officer that you're referring to, Arroyo, that was killed? We'll wait for you. I need that answer here before I can say what I'm about to say. Stand by. Okay.
Criminals could and would all vote. I don't think that's true. I don't think
depends on the criminal. If they're white collar, they're voting Republican.
Yeah, I can assure you.
KJ's voting Republican. Look, I'm a convicted. Oh wait, no.
I can assure you.
Oh my gosh, I better not even make that joke. Somebody's going to cut that.
I can assure you, not all convicted criminals are going to vote Democrat for the sake of their own futures. They will not vote Democrat.
Yeah. So he's going to look it up, and I think who he's going to find is that it's the 2022 fatal shooting. There you go. Okay, here you go. Here's the problem with your argument, Liberty. And I am not trying to disprove your argument, but if you're going to come with a fact, if you'd given KJ this argument, and let's say it was offline so he had a chance to look at it, he would have found this very quickly, because the officer who was shot in 2022, Los Angeles police officer Fernando Arroyo, the 3 gang members were sentenced. In separate hearings today, United States District Judge Percy Anderson sentenced Luis Alfredo de la Rosa Rios, 30, aka Lil J, and Lil Malo to 50 years in federal prison and ordered him to pay $31,000 in restitution. 50 years. Judge Anderson also sentenced Ernesto Cisneros, 25, aka Gonzo, and Spooky. I like that one. Gang name Spooky, to 50 years in federal prison and ordered him to pay $28,600 in restitution. Finally, Jesse Contreras, 36, aka Skinny Jack, and Flacco was sentenced to 35 years in prison and ordered him to pay $31,000. So I'm a bit confused where the prosecutor was soft on these guys for getting 35 years, 50 years, and 50 years. And they all pleaded guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to violate the RICO Act. So is it because instead of charging them with... So Cisneros approached the off-duty officer, patted him down, and then took his chains and wallet, off-duty officer, which contained Rios' LAPD identification card. Rios approached AM, patted her down, and stole her property. I guess that's his girlfriend. After robbing Arroyo, Rios and Cisneros opened fire. Arroyo was struck and killed by a single bullet, which killed him. So, okay, so these guys are gang members. Then I'm not sure why so many Angelinas are upset. Yeah, I mean, so that's part of the problem. Like when we cherry pick, and you don't know, and you got to back up and look at the information of, and this goes for both sides. So on the right, we have a problem with jumping and not doing research on everything also. And it's you saw the, and I'm guilty of this too, right? The picture of the shooter of the Trump assassination attempt. There was a picture of a kid that went around with a little choker thing that looked similar to the shooter. And all I put was, right? And people are like, well, what do you mean? It's like, well, this kind of looks like the shooter. You know, is this part of the problem? Turned out not to be the same kid. I didn't know, but yeah, it sure seemed like it's potentially it's potentially, the same kid. And I didn't know. And I corrected, said, oh, not same kid, and people are like, why'd you post this? And when I found it wasn't the same kid, I posted it and said, because it looked like him. And so I posted it thinking if this is the same guy, there's a potential issue there because of my thoughts about transgenderism and the TikTok gender that KJ and I have talked about. But like right now, if you're going to argue soft on crime, I'm not so much concerned soft on crime right now as I am unwilling to actually investigate crimes. I am so amazed that in today's day and age, we don't, after how many years, we still don't know what was going on with the Vegas shooter who killed 600 odd people. We have a kid who somehow got off multiple shots, including a kill shot on the Republican nominee for president. If dumb luck and or divine intervention hadn't had him turn his head a split second before the trigger was pulled. I mean, people will say, federal government, this and that, and law enforcement. So I don't know. Soft on crime, I agree that Democrats are more likely to be soft on crime and more likely to make decisions on crime bills, looking at the empathy factor of who's it's going to affect and this and that. And ironically, where KJ is saying, it used to be that people like Joe Biden would vote on these bills, knowing damn well that it was going to affect the Black community more than the white community. But today, I think you have, you do have a situation where I think the Democrats would be more likely to actually look at a bill and say, well, wait a minute, if this is going to disproportionately hurt Black people, even if it's a good bill, no, we're gonna shoot it down. No pun intended. So I was gonna say they were gonna kill the bill. And
already. Yeah. All right.
So wait, what? Yeah. I don't have my glasses on, so I couldn't even look. Oh my gosh, it's a good thing tomorrow's not school because I've got my Raptors still up. But I think that there she is, coming out of the books, like Freddy Krueger coming out of the wall. Yeah, but I do think that I do think that overall, Liberty is right. I do think that he's overright. I do think I think that Liberty is right in that broad strokes, Democrats are softer on crime than Republicans. That said, I don't think Republicans are consistent on crime the way they should be, and they should do a better job of following the laws that are already on the books. I think that there should be a tradition, if not a constitutional amendment, that says for every new lawsuit, for every new law that is passed, 2 laws that are already in the book should be removed. I think that any new law that is passed should be required to, in common and easy to read language, explain why this new law is needed on top of the old law, and that the old law is now out of force, because we have a judicial system that is like Jerusalem.
Yep, Democrats soft as Charmin.
10-ply, bud.
But it's the pendulum, right? So they're so afraid of offending they're so afraid of offending the affected community, right? They don't want to piss off the blacks, right? for better or worse. They don't want to piss off the affected communities, right? So they're saying, okay, well, you know, we don't want the George Floyd thing to get out of hand. But that doesn't mean like they're not really doing anything about it, right? If that was the case, the George Floyd bill would have passed, the whole defund the police thing would have passed. None of that's getting passed. None of the laws are getting passed. None of the laws are being taken off. It's still the same status quo. At best, the only thing they're allowing now is just the rhetoric to pass, right? They're allowing more people to be more vocal about it, but at the end of the day, nothing of significance is being done about it. It just happens. It just all it is. It's rhetoric, and it allows people to work through their emotions, and it makes for good news cycle. It allows for the AOCs and the Black caucuses to get out there and do their song and dance, and it allows the old heads to get out of there and march and sing and pray, and you know what I'm saying? Everybody feels good for a couple of weeks, burn down a couple of stores and shit, and then you know you go back to business as usual. So it doesn't, you know. So
well, yes, the selective outrage, because, and you and I have talked about this ad nauseum. So you have George Floyd, who is killed, and you know America freaks out, and meanwhile you've got on that same day how many Black youth got killed in Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Chicago, and L.A. combined. Probably more than one dude, right? But the outrage with George Floyd, it was A, because it was caught on video, and B, because it was a white cop on a black guy. If that had been a black cop on a black dude, George Floyd's situation is very, very different.
I'll give you a prime example.
It would have been different.
Not necessarily a black cop. Had it been just a black dude who killed George Floyd, you'd have never heard about it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Well, but with the cop thing, the reason I think the cop thing is important. Do you remember now? Would have been, gosh, couple years ago now. No, maybe just last year. I think it was Memphis. There was a dude.
Man, nobody does drive-bys anymore.
The dude, yeah, and the problem is the most dangerous thing for a black man is another black man because it's proximity. Yeah. But do you remember in Memphis that kid getting killed by the cops, who he got pulled over, got pulled out of the car. They were getting ready to take him down. They got him on the ground. He fought, got up and ran.
Running?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then when they caught up to him, they beat him to death. They punched him to death, and the kill shot was he was leaning up against the car, and the one dude came up, pop, and he went down. Yeah, dude had if I remember, he had a decapitation. Like that's what killed him, was his neck was broken to the point that it was decapitated. The reason you didn't, in my opinion, the reason you didn't have the same level of outrage and riots and all that was because every officer involved with that was black, and the person who got killed was black. That said, you also didn't have a bunch of Republicans coming out and saying, "Hey, we need to investigate these officers. These officers need to be. Why aren't we having these officers?" I haven't heard anything on that. It was a news cycle. The George Floyd thing, the optics, and here's the thing. I've said this to KJ. I'm sure I've said it on the cast. I am pro cop. I'm a former military police. I've got lots of friends who are cops. Most of my friends who are cops, they hate the bad cops too because it makes them look bad. I was on Officer Chavin's side all the way. I was like, you know what? I watched the video. George Floyd was high. He didn't want to get in the car. He kind of, no, man, I don't want to get on the, and Chavin was like, fine, you got to get on the ground. Cool. No problem, man. I just don't want to get. And then he got on his back, and Chavin had bad technique because there is a way to get on somebody's back and have your knee on their back, which is, it used to be trained. I know as an MP, I was trained on it. of how to do it. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Yeah, we've heard that. Can't breathe. And I was with Chavin the entire way until the end of the trial, because I didn't watch a ton of the trial. When the assistant district attorney in his closing argument said, "Get rid of the drugs, ignore that, ignore the officers talking to him, ignore him not wanting to get into the car, ignore him laying down on the street, ignore all of that. The fact of the matter is, if this police officer had simply gotten off of this man's back and off of his neck, he would not have died. If he had just relieved pressure and turned him over, he would not have died." And that's where I was like, oh yeah, he's guilty. Hey, look, Liberty, you're taking the next point. In 2022 or 23, they surveyed and said, how many unarmed black men have been killed by police officers? They did a national survey, and they broke it down to conservatives and left and right. And they said, do you think it's between like 1 and 50, 50 and 100, 100 and 1,000, 1,000 and 10,000? And you had something like 30% of people on the left said it was between 1,000 and 10,000. And on the right, it was still like 5%. And it went down. But the real number for that year, it was like 28. The percentage that said under 30 was something like 1% on each side. Because when you see something like George Floyd, you have normally you have a 72-hour news cycle. George Floyd was the anomaly because you had a 72-hour news cycle that became the riot in Minnesota, that became the riots everywhere, that became the burning of Minnesota, that became the Rittenhouse, that became boop, 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 boop.
Yeah, that was a rough summer. I should just kept coming back to back.
Yeah. But they all kind of started with Floyd, because you didn't see the same stuff with the gentle giant that strong arm robbery and then struggle with the hands up, don't shoot, because there was no video.
Yeah.
If there had been video of that.
Yeah. I assure you, no black respondents don't want a greater police presence in their neighborhood. We have a great police presence, and it doesn't necessarily equal out to a safer neighborhood. We can at least agree to that. We can at least agree.
Well, I've seen some of the polling that he's talking to, and he's absolutely right. Actually, the polling does show that in the black community there's a desire for an increase in policing. That said, hold on. That said, you have to go to the continued part of what that means, which was improved training and better policing, not just pour more cops in.
Yeah, because that polling is extremely subjective, because we've seen what more policing with no training leads to, and that's just not
sure. Look, for me, when I'm king, one of the very first things I'm going to do is I'm going to say every police car in America needs to be bright neon pink or bright neon yellow. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that police cars can blend in. I want every cop to be seen from a mile away. And if you say, well, but if you do that, then criminals are going to know they're coming. Fine, then that's going to stop criminal behavior, even if it's for the time the cop drives by. If cars will slow down because they see a cop, good. That's what I want. But if you have some undercover stuff, obviously, but for the most part, yeah. And no one's going to fear a pink police car. Doesn't matter. It shouldn't be about fear. You should not be. Okay. I'm going to put some words in KJ's mouth right now. I 100% guarantee KJ hopes to everything that is good that his 3 children are not fearful of the police. Because if they fear the police, it means the police have done something horrible. And I can tell you right now, although KJ won't go into it, his kids have seen something that should never have happened, and they will distrust the police. If they are old enough to remember, they will distrust the police for the rest of their lives because of the actions of officers that, although you could see why they did some of the things they did, they handled it in about as poorly a way. And KJ, if things had gone a little bit differently, we would not be talking right now, and we would be talking about another dead man on the street because of a police officer being jumpy with a gun.
Yep. And I'm not bitter. I have every right to be, and I'm not bitter. I love the police. I love the police. And I just realized that, not every person is cut out for that line of work. Just like not everybody's meant to be a soldier, right?
So, yes. So Liberty, so fear, there's a difference between fear and respect. Okay. So if I respect the police enough to do their jobs and I'm a criminal, it doesn't have to be a matter of fear. It's, I respect that they are going to do their jobs. And if I do something criminal, they're going to come and arrest me. They don't need to. Why do you need to fear the police? You need to be. It's kind of like the people that don't understand. The opposite of war is not peace. The opposite of war is strength. Because if you're strong enough, nobody's going to go to war with you because they know they're going to get effed up. I'm not going to go pick a fight with Travis Kelce. I'm not going to go pick a fight with Travis Kelce. That's not fear. That's respect. And that is strength.
I'd kick his ass.
Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
I'm putting my money on Kelce, buddy.
I am too. I am too. I ain't gonna be with my best shot.
But I'm gonna hurt his knuckles with my face. You watch. He's gonna come away with a tooth in his skin, if one way or the other.
We are 2 hours and 38 minutes into this.
That was so much fun, dude. If you would seriously, that was just so much fun. I hope you find the producer. There was so much if we can do this for 2 hours and 40 minutes without blinking, I now know how Rogan's able to do it.
Wow.
That's why Rogan can do this. Because when you have a good conversation, you can talk. So I hope you're able to cut a ton of stuff. We're skipping final thoughts. Yeah, I hope you can find some good stuff. I'm going to, at some point, KJ is going to teach me how to TikTok on the 2 POGs instead of or maybe I'll just keep doing it. I'll just keep tagging 2 POGs.
No,
you can reset.
Keep tagging because it all hits the algorithm either way.
Yeah. I'm trying to do some other stuff because my buddy Colby's like, man, I can't. You just all the time political with you. You need. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, you need to spend more time with your family. I was like, dude, when I recorded that TikTok, I was sitting in my car with my daughter in the back and at my son's soccer game. He goes, well, see, you should have been spending time with them. I'm like, I spend more time with my kids than 95% of the dads I know. So me sitting here recording a 60-second TikTok is not taking away from dad's time with the kids.
You gotta do some TikTok dances. Learn some TikTok dances.
Thank you for your concern, my friend. And I told him that. I said, hey, I really do. I appreciate it. But it's funny because he does oh, dude, you're in a cult. You're in a cult. And not talking about being LDS, about the Trump thing. And I'm like, wow. Do you like actually pay attention to what I say? I am not MAGA. I am voting for Trump because he is absolutely, to me, the lesser of two evils. Absolutely. He is further right than Harris, and some of the stuff we didn't even talk about the whole abortion flip-flopping and some of that stuff that we could have talked about. But realistically, I look at Trump and I go, for all of the flaws that Trump has, I trust him to run the country more in line with my vision and my belief system than any Democrat that they are putting forward. And if if Harris were to, let's do them both. Harris and Walz, their bus accidentally drives off the cliff and it kills them both. And they come out and they say, hey, we need to find somebody to replace Harris. We need somebody who is in the same demographics that we can just Photoshop in. Oh, you know what? We've got Tulsi Gabbard. We'll just kind of Photoshop her in all of this, and Americans won't really know the difference, right? Tulsi is still further left, even as a reformed Democrat. In her core, she is further left than Trump, and she is doing what she needs to do to make a dime. Well, but I don't blame Tulsi Gabbard for going on Fox News and trying to rhetorically trying to kill Harris. She did it once. She's the person who ended Harris's presidential campaign single-handedly.
Gotta cash that check, man. I ain't mad at it.
Yeah, and if they had let her stay on that debate stage, she would have done the same thing to Joe Biden.
Oh yeah.
But they didn't let her. You noticed right after that, she immediately was downgraded. They changed the rules, and they put her at the kids' table, and she was never able to recover because once you're at the kids' table, you're stuck there. Yep. And so yeah. So yeah, Tulsi, what is she? Is she a lieutenant colonel in the reserves?
What could have been though, man.
Yeah. Oh. Okay, who's your final? Okay, let's go final thoughts, and let's make this a nice. Let's make this a nice clip. Of all the people that are viable candidates in this election cycle, viable and running, so you can't say, "Yeah, I want Condi Rice to run." Viable people who are legitimately either ran or nationally polled at some point in this cycle. Who are the two best and brightest that you would have the least problem if either of them won, one from each side?
What was the girl from South Carolina? What was the governor from South Carolina?
Nikki Haley.
I think this was the year to pass the torch to her. I think she would have been transformational. I think even if he'd have put her on the ticket as the VP, I think you guys would have ran away with it easily. You would have took the momentum from anything Biden would have ran with.
I think if they'd known Biden was going to step down,
you think that would have affected their pick?
I think it would have affected the VP pick.
Yeah.
Because then, if they knew it was Harris, they would have been going, "Oh, she's top of the ticket. We need somebody who can attack her that isn't going to sound silly when they say things like she's actually Indian and not black."
Yeah.
Like Nikki Haley could say, "I embrace my Indian heritage. I'm really surprised that Vice President Harris isn't able to do the same thing." And that would have been a devastating line of attack.
Could have been a woman-to-woman attack too, without it being coming off as sexist.
Absolutely.
Chauvinistic. Yep. I think they missed it on that one. On the blue side, I really liked. I really think Buttigieg is. I mean, I think that boy is a star, man. I do. Given all his flaws, I think he's a star. I really like the guy out of what's the guy out of Kentucky, Bashar, I think it is.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
I think he's good, and then the Jewish kid too, the Jewish governor too,
Pennsylvania governor.
I think he's
Shapiro.
Yeah, I think he's a star too in the making, man. So I'm excited. Not so much this cycle, but I think 28 is going to be really great with the because the red team has a bunch of young stars that are up and coming. I think Vimaswamy is going to be a force in 4 years when he gets some seasoning under his belt. And I think the blue team is going to try to come with their new wave of guys too in 28, man. So Not so much this. We just got to get through this cycle. We just got to get. What about?
Well, and 28, I think is going to be until we know what happens in this cycle. If Trump wins, MAGA, how much does MAGA truly? Does the Republican Party become the MAGA party?
I think MAGA dies with Trump.
I don't know. I don't know if it does. I think the way it's gone, I think it will have gained cult status, if you want to call it that.
Same thing with the Tea Party, right? You had the Tea Party wave kind of come through and just.
Oh man, what could have been with the Tea Party? Oh,
it got overtaken with all the crazies, man.
An actual party that wanted to be conservative.
Yeah. The problem is, it'll start off great, and then all the crazies will get in, and after a while it starts eating itself up from there. It's with every idealist party.
But MAGA got all the crazies in too. Kerry Lake in Arizona. Are you kidding? So okay.
But it's the same thing with Moms with Liberty. Moms with Liberty started off really great, and now all of a sudden you're just like,
yeah, they just got wrapped. Again, it gets wrapped up in MAGA. But I will say this: if Harris wins in 24, I think that is the beginning of the end for MAGA. I think you see a turn into, hey, we need to really New Day Reagan Republican and we need to get away from the cult of he's failed twice now. His cult of personality is not valuable. He needs to ride off into the sunset and stay on Mar-a-Lago and shut up. Okay.
Yeah.
As far as mine, and you're gonna have to cut this from yours to mine and edit the middle part, which is totally fine. As far as mine, on the Republican side, I would go of one of two governors. I would have gone with either DeSantis or Abbott. I think either of those would have been outstanding. Having lived in Texas and seen some of the things Abbott's done, I think I would actually prefer Abbott. And honestly, I kind of think it would be cool to have a guy that is in a wheelchair be the president, like to show that it doesn't matter. Stuff like that, you can overcome things. DeSantis is cool, military guy, captain in the Navy, all that stuff. On the Democrat side, I'm going to give you a name that I cannot believe I'm saying this, but assuming the recovery is real, Fetterman, I just can't believe of all the I have seen him come out. I have seen him come out on more things that I go, yeah, Fetterman, yeah, I kind of Israel, yeah, crossing the border, and he thinks there's too many illegals coming across. Yeah, like wait a minute, this John Fetterman is saying these things, John Fetterman, who was the mayor in Philadelphia or whatever town it was, and did the crazy gun stuff, and he like this Fetterman, the guy who was wearing a hoodie, who was pulling a Bill Belichick.
This is going on all the socials.
By the way, I love that he went in and he's like, let's change the rules of the Senate where you can wear a hoodie. You know what? You all take yourselves too damn seriously to begin with. I wish John Fetterman, the first day they had relaxed the dress code, seriously had shown up in a American flag Speedo au natural. I would have said, this dude has the biggest cojones and you could see him in that banana rack.
Oh,
this dude, God. I you know what? I have never voted Democrat in my life. I am voting for this dude. If he had pulled that off, oh my goodness.
Better.
Now, the only other person, and again, I don't truly trust her because of it, But Tulsi, I think that if I truly felt that she wasn't doing the Fox News stuff and the things that she's been doing, if I thought they were heartfelt and not purely for a buck, then okay. But I mean, she's doing the same thing JFK Jr. is doing. She's like, the Democrats party bohica'd me, and so I'm going to say F you and move on. And I saw a picture. Somebody sent me a picture that had looked like a WWE picture, and it had Trump, and it had like JFK Jr. and it had Tulsi and it had Vance and it had somebody and it was like, this is just, I mean, unintentional comedy to the nth degree. And I looked at it and I said, you know what? The saddest part of that is 4 out of the 6 people on that poster. Oh, Musk was one of them. 4 out of the 6 people on that poster 10 or more years ago was a Democrat. So the Republican Party, if the pendulum does, because right now you've got the right and you've got the left. And over a while, it's gone kind of like this, right? Tea Party, okay, Berkeley.
Yep.
Right now, we're about as far over here as we've ever been. And the frustration is that the Republican Party has done this.
Yep.
And MAGA, when what should be happening, if Trump truly cared to win, wanted to not only cared but wanted to win, if he was over here and truly said, "This is what we believe in. We are more conservative than we are liberal.
Yep.
We are more right than we are left.
Yep.
We want to click abortion ban. Look, it's not the place to have a federal abortion ban, but I think every abortion that is absolutely unnecessary should not happen. We need to be here. Every person that wants to come across the border legally, every person that is in this country right now illegally needs to have the steps to return home and apply directly. No hemming and hawing, be clear. But instead, he's gone to the middle. He's trying to play both sides, and he doesn't realize that the average independent doesn't like him enough to vote for him on mediocre,
non-washy stuff. I'm telling you, it don't work.
It really doesn't. But it's going to be interesting in the debate if, I think, like you said, if Trump can come out and poke the bear and get a couple of cackles from Kamala, that's going to help. But he can't lose. And the first time he says to her, "You're an Indian, you ain't even black," he loses.
You want me to tell you my confession? You want me to tell you my prediction?
Harris is going to win.
No, Harris loses in the landslide.
Really? Interesting. I don't think it's a landslide. I don't think it can be a landslide. I don't think it can be because
she'll win the popular vote. She'll win the popular vote, but I think she gets crushed in the electoral college.
Here's why I disagree. Because you're talking about the 47% rule, right? We've talked about the 47% rule. 47% are going to vote Democrat, 47% are going to vote Republican. It's the 6% in the middle that matter.
I'll write down the time. Watch this. What day is it? September 1st.
Yeah, write it down. Okay. Absolutely. September 1st. You don't need, I'll remember. I'm smart like that.
10:45 p.m.
10:45 is 11:25. What are you talking about?
They're going to call the presidential race at 10:45 p.m. for President Trump.
Oh, I see. 10:45
p.m. They're going to call it for Trump.
Eastern time?
Yep.
Polls aren't even closed at that point.
I know. It's not going to be close. And I'll tell you what.
They cannot. Hold on. Time out. First of all, they will. I guarantee right now, they will not call it until the Hawaii polls are closed. Now you can say 1 minute after Hawaii,
he'll be projected. He'll be the projected winner. And I'll tell you why. If they don't,
what time do the polls close in each day? 8.
8.
So you're saying before California, Nevada. Ooh, Arizona's weird because Arizona's on.
He'll have everything up to the Midwest locked. There'll be no path to 270 past Pennsylvania. All he needs is Georgia, Pennsylvania, Delaware, New York. He'll get South Carolina. He'll get Florida.
You think he'll get New York?
Easily. And I'll tell you, here's why.
Oh, we have a milkshake bet on New York.
Democrats.
We're going to have a milk right now. Write it down. Milkshake bet on New York.
Let's do it. You got it. Democrats rely heavily in the national election. They rely heavily on absentee ballots and early voting. Right?
Yeah.
She won't get it. The turnout won't be enough.
Okay. I milkshake bet. Harris carries New York.
Harris in New York.
Yep.
You're on. I think she loses. I don't think the city will be enough to carry her.
I do. And I do mainly because of abortion. I think that's going to be such a big issue in the cities that because New York City trends young. And that is going to be so, and even though the change in Roe v. Wade affected the citizens of New York, absolutely not at all. They think it did. They have this idea that it did.
The rest of the state is uber conservative, though.
And not Buffalo, or Albany. But New York City, that's the problem though. New York City is
massive,
is so big. So
we'll see.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, I believe before the clock strikes 11 o'clock EST, they'll call it for Trump. It'll be over.
I hope you're right. But I think Harris takes. I mean, let's do next week. Put a note. Let's do this next week. Let's go. Let's use the whole pre-debate. Let's go state by state.
Yep.
And do our predictions, and you write it down.
Yep.
And then at the end of the whole thing, after the election's done, winner
get it.
Winner gets dinner.
You got it.
Whoever's closer, just winner. If not like, hey, I say Harris, you say Trump. That's it. Like if you say Trump's getting 375, and I say, Trump's getting under. I won't do under because that's not fair.
Yeah.
Over under is never fair for one person. Because then you have everything under. I'm gonna go under. I'll tell you right now, I'm gonna go under yours though.
Okay.
But if you can come up with the map of and says how many delegates so we can go together and mark them in, and that'd be fun. That might be fun. But we are I'm amazed. We are still further away from the election than we are from Trump's attempted assassination.
Yep.
And one of those two at this point in our nation means essentially nothing, which is just unbelievable to me. The power of the media to black hole a story. If this had been Biden that had gotten the wireless ear piercing, even if President Biden had stepped down for Harris, and he never would have because he would have got a bump from that. He would have said, "I got shot for this. I'm not stepping down." let alone he's been at the beach for the last. Dude, we didn't even talk about who's running the country. He's been on vacation for the last 17 days, and Harris has been campaigning. Who is running the country?
I didn't even talk about that.
I know. It's unbelievable. So who is running the country? I'll TikTok this. I'll do a TikTok for you. And you do one too. We both need to do a quick TikTok. So you do it, whatever. But if this had been Biden who had gotten ear punched, it would still be brought up every day by NBC, CBS, ABC, CNN, at least once a day on one major show. Not all the time, but like ABC, The View would have talked about it. And then the next day, CBS Evening News would have had a piece about it. And then the next day, CNN with Aaron Burnett would have had it. And then MSC, the next day, Joy Reid would have had a special look at the FBI. And then it would have every single day, somebody would. And instead, I assume, because I haven't listened to him literally in over a decade, I assume Hannity's bringing it up every day.
I don't know. And Levin is probably, again, I don't listen to any of it anymore, but next week, let's do that. But let's see if next week we know who the president is, because right now I do not know. That is weird.
Talking about running the country, right?
That's weird.
If Russia launched a ballistic nuclear missile at Kyiv tonight, who is responding?
Who makes the call?
Somebody in DC, I'm sure, the National Defense Secretary, somebody is calling someone to say, what do we respond to? Who are they calling? Are you really waking Joe Biden up at 3 a.m. to say that Moscow just dropped a bomb? It just launched on Kyiv? Are you calling Harris? Are you calling somebody else to say, who do we call? Now, the right answer is you're calling Biden. But
you're supposed to.
If everybody on the Democrat side is saying we all saw it, if the reporter's saying we all saw it, and everybody else, then Pelosi and everybody said, well, I still love Joe Biden, but you know what? We thought it was better to go. How have we not had the 25th Amendment?
Right.
I don't get the Democrats. Honestly, I think that is the biggest misstep of this entire cycle. Not telling Joe Biden, it's not just the campaign. You need to resign from the presidency to give Harris the 6 months or 3 months, whatever it is, because that gives her, look, I've run the country for the last 3 months, and now you're voting tomorrow.
Yep.
Okay. Now you could see the other side. They maybe said, well, no, we don't want to do that because now she's not that special historic. You have to vote for her to be the first Black female. She's the first, African-American female. Okay. So you would have taken that away, but I don't think you have the same situation with Obama that people are going to turn out for Obama because he really was the first African-American.
Yeah.
But I honestly don't know whoever is supposed to make that call, and I assume it's somebody at the NSA because they're the ones who would see.
That's the hardest part, and I know we keep trying to get off of this thing, but that's the hardest part. She's gonna have to convince the American people. She's got to convince the American people that they can trust her to make that call.
I'm more worried about who makes the call right now, today. I literally do not know if there is a missile plume and a launch from Russia, and they can track it. They can generally say pretty quickly, this is headed for Kyiv. What do we do? Whoever the person at the GeoNat says, we've identified this. My boss is the chief of intel, the national intelligence advisor. Call him. What happened? Give me the bluff. Okay, are we sure it's going to Kyiv? Are we sure it's ballistic? It is. We have all confirmation. Roger. He hangs up and picks up the phone to call. It's 3 a.m. Now, constitutionally, well, I don't think there's even a constitutional for that. But my guess is my next call is the next does not go. Protocol is to the president. Current status, I don't think the call goes to Joseph Biden.
I think you're right.
And it certainly doesn't go to Kamala Harris. There's going to be a decision maker that says, I'm glad you called me first. Let me make some phone calls. I will get back to you. Give me 5 minutes. So the question is, who is that person?
That's a concern. We got to go. All right.
Yep. All right,
next week, we will get it on. I will see you guys later. All right.
All right.
Bye. Bye.